Well, hey there, everyone. Let's see. Bam. We are back up and in business. Hey, everybody. Let's get that. That should be fine. How's everyone doing today? You should see the design doc is posted up in the description down below if you would like to follow along. If you got some questions, feel free to shout out, ask, all that good business. You woke up just in time. I'm glad to have you. So, man, there's been a lot there's been a lot that I've been thinking about in regards to what this class is. And oh man, I'm thinking the problem that's been kind of happening has been trying to negotiate what this thing needs to be doing in terms of like its core gameplay loop. And I think we've been a little bit too focused on the wrong side of this. And what I mean by that is I'm really wondering if there's not a way that we can't shift this to, you know, you're going to have your attack action and all that stuff, whatever. You're going to have spells that you can cast with some of these subclasses, all that stuff. What if we shift the thinking of your authority has to be this thing that you're using with your action to issue orders, and rather make it something that you do as a reaction that is available at the end of any other creature's turn. And I like this idea because I was seeing this pop up in some monster stat blocks, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here. So I'm going to be shifting the action economy a little bit, and kind of moving forward with this idea to see what we might work out. See if this doesn't better convey this idea of what it means to be a commander, right? Like issuing these orders, but also keeping it rooted really firmly in the idea that this is supposed to be a sovereign. So like, they're not always going to be the warlord, right? Like that was the big thing that I was trying to get across yesterday, was I don't think the narrative for this is going to be the exact same as a tactician specifically. Sovereigns are not always going to be I wanted this class to be more open-ended, you know. So let's go over, let me see here, bam, here we are. Oh, and my camera, of course. How's that look? Let's see this. Whoop, that's just my face. I like you all, but I don't want you that close. There we go. Darth Sidious spent 6 movies in a chair. Yeah. Good point. Good point. You know, or like, what would it mean in a D&D fight? Like, what would Snow White be doing, right? Like, or like, I wanted to open it up a bit more, right? Than just, you are a military leader. So let's see what that could be, right? There's a few things I got working on there's a few things I got working on last night that I think kind of convey what I was going for yesterday. The idea that this wasn't going to be a really active commander, and more so it needed to be a more passive commander. Or, I keep using that term commander. It's not really what I mean. I think that I was so convinced maybe at one point that this had to be like that kind of a tactician. I just, it's like, I need to get away from that idea, right? But there was a really cool thing that happened yesterday where I was like, rather than this being the subclass, or this being the class that is like, you're issuing orders to your buddies, what if it was rather like, what if we embrace the idea of you, by you, virtue of you being around, your allies rock harder, you know? What if, like, we can open this territory up for, like, yeah, you can issue this command, whatever, but, like, this is something right here that I think really hits on that thematic I was talking about yesterday. You bolster your allies' morale in the thick of battle when they know that they have protected you. I guess when they know you are safe. Sure. At the start of your turn in combat, you grant each of your allies within 30 feet of you that can see you temporary hit points equal to your sovereign level plus your leadership modifier. If you do not grant this benefit if you're incapacitated or if you've taken damage since the end of your last turn. Immediately sounds a lot more paladin, and I get that. I get the idea that it sounds a bit like a magical aura, right? And I wonder if that is just, is it territory that just can't be explored unless you have spells? Like, you issue the command caffeinate. Thank you so much, Deli Wine, for the $5. Which, by the way, I should do. More coffee. Good call. You feel like there's a reason a lot of people go Noble Paladin. Yeah! And I agree, right? Paladin evokes the idea of like what it means to be a knight. It feels like that knight in shining armor. But it's really not. You know, the Paladin, if anything, is supposed to be a holy warrior. Which, like, I say holy warrior. They're like, you know, they are their oath-bound. They're their oath-bound warrior, which is what gives them all their spells and whatnot. And I prefer this idea of, like, I like this narrative right here of, at the start of your turn, you can give a benefit as long as you're safe, right? You haven't been hit with an attack or something like that. Keeping this to be a full HP wasn't gonna feel good as a meta level. DM can shut it down. Yeah. This is gonna be a lot more active, and you're gonna be thinking about this, right? Like, keep them safe, because we're gonna do really well, you know. Oh, hey, it's this guy again. Now, check out the 4E Warlord. I have not. I don't want the Warlord to inform the design of this too much. I'm interested to see what they might have over there, but I just don't really know that it's going to be what I'm thinking in terms of, like, the direction of this, the narrative of it. Looking at their I don't see a role leader, marshal. How many other? The Ardent, the Artificer, Bard, Rune Priest, Shaman, Warlord. God, trying to convert like so much of old design. Is the audio cutting out for anybody else? Oh, please give me a heads up on that. The doc is not on Twitch, actually. I should probably fix that. I think Tin Can, you've had audio issues on here in the past without anybody else really having audio issues. There we go. You had it too? Is it cutting out like you can't hear me or you can't hear the music either? Because if you just can't hear me, it might have been that my that the noise gate that's on my microphone might have been a little bit too sensitive. Military ranged weapons, yada yada yada. Leadership. Ooh. I mean, this is cool. Like, there's some ideas in here that feel really passive. Like, combat leader, you and each ally within 10 squares who can see and hear you gain a +2 power bonus to initiative. You gain proficiency with heavy shields, and you gain the battlefront shift power. Bravura. Make an attack. The ally can choose to take advantage of this feature before the attack roll. Chooses to do so when the attack hits. See, I like that. Choose to take advantage of this feature. Attack misses. Yeah, but that does feel like it's leaning a bit more into... it feels like that's leaning a bit too much into... like, militaristic. Stream had a hiccup for you, but you assumed it was on. It's fine now. So weird. I don't know what's been going on. Huh. I'll try and get that fixed this next week. I'll call my internet provider and see what's going on. Okay, so there's some ideas in here. Okay. When an ally who can see you spends an action point to take an extra action. Okay, so this is all... Alright, so like... There's some ideas that are in here that I think... like, make sense. Like, there's a precedent for it. Exploits. And that's the thing, can choose. If they do choose, right? Could it maybe expand to 45 or 60 feet later, or a subclass expand the range or effect? Possibly. Yeah, and again, I just want to emphasize something. It's not supposed to be a warlord. It's not supposed to be a warlord. It's not supposed to be a warlord. So let's sever that. Who will win, a sovereign player or the DM with an invisible gnome, sharpshooter, and a blowpipe? Depends on the rolls. So, authority, right? The idea here being, you can use this at the end of your turn as well. You issue this order, right? So, like, loosely interpreted, what are, like, do we say that these are, like, specific? Do we say, like, yeah, this is giving you, you're issuing an order and, like, yeah, we need to get aggressive here. Boom. If you're saying, like, okay, Choose a creature you can see. Because, like, the idea here is use your reaction, and we're not going to be granting additional actions. We're going to be doing things that are kind of passive in terms of if they follow your command, what happens, right? They get a benefit. That's the way that it should go. So, like, you choose a creature you can see. Yeah. Hey, Minnie Annie. If these orders you were giving, yeah, this is something I was writing earlier. You choose a creature that you can see, and order. Your allies. Roll against the creature. Let me see. So we have a few things that we can choose from here. Dot, 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 and then dot, dot, dot. So. Hey, everyone. How are we doing? Howdy, howdy. What is up, Huntsman? Okay. Well, Skyrim to Oblivion and back. Yeah, Les. I'm writing out some different ideas that could be a benefit here. Now, advantage has other implications, right? Why we would or would not choose the certain thing. Well, this is as a reaction on your turn. Or no, a reaction that you can use on your turn. Rogues would have advantage, but that's, to me, I'm fine with that. It may be too good to do as a reaction at the end of your turn. I'm trying to remember why I was really sold on that, as this should be the way that this goes. Because if I can't remember... Oh, it was because of the Warlord stuff. Okay. Snake attack. No, there needs to be a rogue subclass out there with a snake attack feature. Pros, easy to track. Cons. Yeah, you want to rogue snake attack. I'm sure someone's come up with that pun in the past, right? I feel like sneak attack is somewhat like a boogeyman when it comes to balance. It is, yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, you got to consider things like sneak attack. You have to consider things like rage. I mean, sorcerer meta magics. Eldritch blast. Yeah, what a boogeyman. What are the scary things you always have to think about, right? Whenever you're coming up with a brand new option, there's some main core things. You really have to keep in mind. Yeah, great weapon master and sharpshooter. These are things just quick rundown. Barbarian, rage, fighters, action surge. Let's see this. Yeah, cool, man. Action surge is it is balanced on a razor's edge. It is probably the best feature in the entire game. Pack magic, sure. I feel like there's another one I'm just not really thinking of. So there's these. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that crop up. Shield spell. Kind of like. I'm also kind of like just of the opinion that like, man, if shield is going to be the expectation that like, yeah, that's what those arcane casters need to go pick up, and like, I think that at that point you should probably be looking at potentially nerfing shield. Shield, I mean, I think pretty much everyone's in agreement, right? Shield needs to get toned down in some capacity. If you just did like reaction, get a bonus to your armor class equal to your spellcasting ability modifier, boom, +3, like that's already very, very good, and I think most people are going to pick that up anyways. Scaling up to a +5, shield's going to remain relevant like at all levels of play, you know, like, yeah, that's a very good spell. You might be able to say shield. I know okay, aid, counterspell, yada yada. Smite, yes, thank you. Okay. Get this in alphabetical order. On the classes, actually, is it Spell Mastery? I forget the name of their 18th. Spell Mastery. Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay, yeah, Magical Secrets is a big one. Melfinding Meteors is literally better than Fireball. Druid Wild Shape, yep. Da-da-da-da. Okay. Glyph of Warning, sure, it just doesn't really crop up quite as much. One of my favorite spells, for sure, but like, man, it's not really always coming up. This next one isn't so much of a boogeyman as much as a, Fly is the kind of spell that I measure, where do I feel comfortable getting you, like, potentially, like, you know, at will third level spell, like one situation, whatever. Fly is kind of a unique case. I tend to think that, like, you can, the earliest I feel comfortable giving you the same level of power that they tend to hide behind a third level spell is usually at about 9th level. Like, it has to be that one specific third level spell given at will. And then I'm like, ooh, okay, that is like, wow, that is probably my line of, like, if you do anything else to that, you are, wow, anything else beneficial, you know. Conjure animals / living beings. I feel like there may be one I'm kind of missing out on here. Feats, like, lucky isn't really all that important here. We came up, man, like, lucky is just, it sounds like it's banned often enough that, like, yeah, I just don't really think about lucky all that much whenever I'm actually writing. And plus, like, I mean, it seems like so many tables just ban lucky these days. Spirit Guardians, it's a good spell, but it's not one that I think the power out of it comes from the unique mechanic itself. But on these classes, Cleric, Sorcerer, and Warlock. So, really simple. What do these three have in common? Chat, let me know. Other than the fact that they get spellcasting. Feats in 5e are very blah. I don't mind feats so much. I mind that they can't seem to agree what the hell a feat should be. Yeah, there we go. Level 1 subclasses. Because these get a first level subclass, I think if we were to redesign the system today, most likely, Cleric wouldn't be getting some of the crazy stuff they get at first level. They already get an amazing spellcasting feature. They're a D8 class with light armor, medium armor, shields, whatever, simple weapon for, yeah. D8 class, full spellcasting, access to 3 cantrips at first level, 2 first level spell slots, sure, but they get a divine domain. This is uniquely strong, like in, wow, so many ways. Yeah, subclasses at level 1, so good multi-classing dips. Exactly. They're going to get 2 free spells. Okay, Searing, I just pulled up Forge Domain because it's an example of like, wow, holy crap, this thing is insane. Proficiency with heavy armor and smith's tools, and then Blessing of the Forge. If they would have gotten any more than this, I would have most likely said that Forge Domain needed to get, well, it did get toned back actually. This is not the same subclass that we saw in the Unearthed Arcana. It originally got Shield instead of, it got Shield instead of Identify? Or Shield instead of Searing Smite? I can't remember off the top of my head, but it originally did get Shield in here. And it was just like, it was impossible, absolutely impossible to take down this Cleric. Cleric doesn't have a ton, and someone in chat may correct me here. Cleric doesn't have a ton of things that they're going to actually have on their reaction. So, for them to get Shield, it was actually really strong just by virtue of that, and this is already on a class that's going to get a boost to its AC, and then you're just going to, yeah. Yeah, it gets you so much at first level. Dipping over into Cleric, I would say is worth probably 2, if not 3 feats. You're getting 3 cantrips. I mean, 3 cantrips, 2 first level spells, and then sometimes proficiency in heavy armor. This is also a big critique I had for Twilight Domain. Twilight Domain gives you way too much shit at first level. Just way too much. I'm not even talking about just pure power here. Like, oh wait, I was looking at Trickery Domain. I was like, wait, what the that's not the same. 2 amazing spells that you get at first level. Proficiency in martial weapons and fucking heavy armor. And Eyes of Night, which is dark vision out to a range of 300 feet. As well as the ability to share that with some of your buddies. As well as a passable advantage on initiative rolls. Like, Jesus, yeah. This one is objectively too bloated down, for anybody. This is, of course we see this and we're like, wow, they're getting so much. Of course we can see that this is busted. I still don't get how Wizards of the Coast didn't see it. But for multi-classing, this subclass bothers me a lot. A lot. You're getting 3 cantrips, 2 spells, 2 spell slots, sorry. And then 2 spells that, like, are not fucking bad to pick up. Like, Fairy Fire and Sleep, amazing, right? Proficiency with all martial weapons and heavy armor. And then this is just universally good for literally, like, every character. Every character. Like, oh, man. Nuts. Should on-kill effects be on that list? We're not looking for a good point, but we're not looking for exploits. These are just things that are in the game that we know, and I guess I should clarify that. Okay. Well, let's say this. Boom. Okay. It's also like I've seen some YouTube channels kind of get dunked on by for saying that they're really bothered by the idea of multi-classing. I think newer players and people that haven't really studied the system kind of lash out at them because they're like, you're cutting off all these character options I can make. I can't make my Hexblade Paladin, the 80th one you've probably seen. I don't actually, I cannot blame people for banning multiclassing on their tables. I think that it creates too many potential issues. Like, if WotC had just said, you can't multiclass anymore, I think the game would probably be better for it. Really do. You immediately make Fighter look really, really good. What does on-kill effects mean? So, an on-kill effect would be like, whenever you kill a creature, you get a benefit. Because you can do isn't it an optional rule? Does anyone out there really treat it like an optional rule? They allow it officially in Adventurers League. But on-kill effects. So, the reason why you won't see features for 5e, and the reason why Astral Self got a nerf, was because it didn't pass this test. And it's that whenever you kill a creature, you're awarded a certain benefit. Because there's an exploit called Bag of Rats. So I just carry around this bag of rats with me, and whenever I need this resource, I just take out a rat and squish it, and then I get that whatever in there, right? A few classes kind of get away with this, in a way. Yeah, Skylar saw it, yeah. The Fiend. The Fiend has one, the way that they get around this, like, what are you going to do? Shake the bag of rats, now you piss it off, and now you kill one. Okay. But then you're going to get temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier plus your warlock level. This is actually kept in check because of the way that temporary hit points work in this game. If you had just regained hit points, this of course would have been super busted. And people actually, like, from what I can tell, the Fiend is like, if we're going off like a tier list, especially now with like Hexblade and all these other super exciting options, the Fiend is kind of looking like a B, you know? But yeah, if it were like, you regain a spell slot, oh, they'll be so insanely busted. The Hex spell and Warlock does that, unless they eroded it? Huh? It breaks Bag of Rats? How so? You place a curse on a creature that you can see within range. Until the spell ends, you deal an additional 1d8 necrotic damage on the target whenever it hits. Choose an ability. You can just pass it around. Fiend is a good full warlock. That's basically the conclusion I came to, is that Fiend doesn't really have a problem. It's just like, it's not as flashy as the new warlocks. DOB is just a better version of the Fiendish Vigor invocation, if you have a bag of rats. You know, like, and I don't even think it's really all that exploitable. It's kept in check just fine. But, like, there has been... It's weird there's a narrative, okay? The narrative being that, like, this is the reason why WotC hasn't put in an official healing cantrip, you know. The thing is, Benjamin figured out how to make a healing cantrip work. It's very possible. You just allow the creature to roll a hit die. Boom. You're taking a cantrip. Awesome. Like, yeah. You're tying it into a resource still. You're making its, like, natural healing. Like, yeah, it's awesome. Should just, honestly, just be an official cantrip. It's that good. It's like, jeez, man. You figured out how to really evoke that white mage feel. It's everything the Cleric's missing. Everything, right? To shore up what it means to be a healer. Oh, yeah, robotic, yeah, 100%. There was a really cool Unearthed Arcana that they did that I was actually pretty excited for. And I am so sad this didn't make it in. Yeah. So, this was back before Xanthar's Guide. Does it say? Yeah, 2017. Number 1, Raven Queen. I did a revision of this one that you can go check out over on my Patreon. But, the really, really cool thing with this one was that you can, by going back to the blade, and then based on your specific patron, you could get given a, like, magic weapon, basically. But they're all unique magic weapons. And this is so sick. Moonbow, just like, oh. There's so much cool stuff going on in here. I still don't really know why they got rid of this. Oh, the Seeker Patron. I forgot about that. Oh, there were such cool ideas that they had in this entire thing. But yeah, I don't really know why the Seeker got cut. It was such a cool idea. Yeah, but there's also, like, whenever you say, like, I killed a creature, right? Well, what's considered a creature in the game? Avelin, is it Avelian? Proved why that is, alright? So, like, isn't a bug a creature? So, like, could I just take a jar of bugs around and just smash them whenever I need this thing back? This is why, and I'll show you, WotC even screwed this up. They fixed it before print. God, and I remember Reddit hated anybody calling this out. Because I remember bringing it up, I posted this over on Reddit, and I just got crazy brigaded about, like, oh man, what are you talking about? Monk needs this. Key consumption. Whenever a creature within 10 feet of you is reduced to 0 hit points, you can use your reaction to regain key points equal to your wisdom modifier. This, outside of combat, it breaks bag of rats. Yeah. Treant Monk made a recent bit about how a Phantom Rogue build that you can kill your Phantom Steed for any feature that needs you to kill a creature. Oh, God. Ow. The heck? Oh, ouch. Even in combat, well, yeah, somewhat. I think they tried to tame it by making it cost your reaction in combat, but still, I mean, you know, and there were people that were like, it's a 17th level, you're supposed to get some crazy stuff there. This still, no other monk can do this. Like, this is a core class resource, and no other monk could get that effect. Yeah, so that's why this isn't in there anymore, right? It was just broken. It was super broken. Yeah, and those are still some of my most disliked videos whenever I pointed out all these issues with Astral Self. I'm like, guys, I'll put money on it right now. It is not going to appear the way it looks in the Sun of Arcana. People are complaining, and, well, whatever. My dudes. Trust your boy here, okay? Yeah, I think the Secret Patron is really super cool. I love this idea of, like, your patron is this being that is, I don't know, like, I have a vision in my mind immediately of, like, all kinds of patrons that could be, right? Some kind of, like, ancient eldritch philosopher, or, like, oh man, there's such a cool idea. Boy is trusted. I appreciate that. Thank you, Matt. Kind of wish every monk subclass has some kind of unique key region feature. Hang on. Let me throw one at you. I'll be talking about this sometime soon. Monk. Come on. Because I agree, Monk needs to be able to regenerate its ki. I just think that that mechanic, oh no, I don't know how I can talk about it. I don't know how I can get more into that without divulging anything. Why is this not working? Okay, missing fonts, sure. Hang on, let me see who that is. 1 second, somebody's knocking my door. Yard guy. Yo. Okay. So, it took a second for this to load. Let me scroll. We were going to talk about... Oh man, I hope this didn't totally screw up the formatting in this. Oh god. Okay, let me just get to the feature and I'll show you. Yada-da-da. Boom. Alright, so this has existed in the past. I don't know about a past D&D. Well, I can't remember if it was a past D&D edition or what. But basically, right here, around this level, Monk starts to get actually pretty damn hungry for ki. Like, Monk always needed, Monk always needed a little bit more, like, ki at early levels, but, like, this makes it to where, in that second tier of play, Monk starts to get fucking just so starved for ki. You allowing them to potentially regenerate ki. So, like, you learn to regain some of your ki points through brief meditation. At the start of your turn, you can choose to spend your turn in meditation. Doing so requires your concentration, as if concentrating on a spell. When you do, you can't move, speak, or take any actions or reactions until the start of your next turn or until you lose concentration. If you maintain concentration in this way until the start of your next turn, you regain a number of your expended ki points equal to half your ki point maximum. You can't use this feature if you're unconscious at the start of your turn. Once you regain ki points in this way, you must finish a short or long rest before you can use this feature again. This effectively makes it to where your overall ki, the overall ki that you have on demand at any time is increased by 50%. And this feels real nice. Real nice. Yeah, Bravely Default, actually, you could argue that, like, defaulting in Bravely Default is kind of like this in a way. Well, nah, maybe not. No, what am I thinking of? Was it Octopath? I think Octopath Traveler has that thing where you store up your moves or something, and then you can dish them out. Like, you can improve other stuff later, right? Palladium's Ninjas and Super Spies had a cool key system. But yeah, so this is the thing that I just... It's in part of my overhaul doc, which I really screwed up the formatting on. But this has just been a, like, me throwing my pissiness out with the system out into the universe. There's something that, yeah, this is something I showed in a stream a little while ago. I'm working on a bard, really inspired by Galder's Gazetteer, to not completely bring in a new, like, magic system or anything, but to just reduce bard down to a bit of a half caster. You do this, and then bard's looking actually very, very nice. So, yeah. Let's save that. How's my revised ranger coming along? Pretty well. There's a few subclass. I mean, it's to the point where like I think that the base class is totally fine. This would be ready. I mean, like if somebody asked me they wanted to play a ranger at my table, I would offer them this to play test it for me. None of the major structure or anything needs a huge massive overhaul. I just need to do things like, if you look at this Drake's Breath, it's still tied into mechanics that are tied into the spell slots, so I need to figure out like what the new thing is that allows you to like do that again a number of times, right? We're also seeing Wizards of the Coast try to move away from short rest, which scares me a little bit, but yeah. So far, I think this is actually feeling really, really nice. It's basically play testable at this point, but there's still things I'd like to go in and make sure, yeah, this is still churning with a new spellless D8 Ranger, making sure that things are still synergizing in the way that I thought they should with like favorite foe, all that. But yeah, it's just, God, it's been a hot second since I've been able to kind of sit down with it. But I mean, that's basically done-ish. I'm sure there's things I need to comb through it, but anyways, when you exit, don't save, and it should keep your old formatting. Yes. You made short rest 10 minutes, but you could only take proficiency bonus short rest for long rest. Fix the problems in my games. That'd be fair. I mean, the uses kind of makes sense. If they were only like, you can only benefit from one short rest per, I don't know. It scares you as a Warlock appreciator to see them move away from short rests. People really love the pack magic system. They really do. And I get it. It's cool. But, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if the reason why I'm not sold on getting away from it is, okay, I like the idea of a gritty realism table. Basically, I like the way that buffs up a lot of different classes, but I just don't think my players would be down to play on one. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Jacob? How's the core mechanic design going? Pretty well. This is going to give you, Warlock Enjoyers Giga Chat. I've debated on something with this. I'm gonna have to consider a thing here. This is a class that's giving you light armor, medium armor, and shields. Now the fantasy here is, well, yeah, but what if I want to make, someone tell me of a famous princess. You guys tell me of a princess or a prince or king or queen, and whether or not we can make it like, using this system. Because I'm not entirely sold that like, this loadout feels so weird. Like, it feels like there is a lot that this is giving you right here. And Arthur could very easily be made with this. Prince, again, fucking mads. Lancelot was a knight. Yeah, the aardvark. Alice in Wonderland. Lord Farquaad. I see. We're getting a lot of characters that were tied into nobility, but weren't specifically noble characters. Ice King is a weird case because he's actually canonically a wizard. Yeah, I'm trying to think like a fairy princess, you know. Oh, yes, Joseph Citadino. That's the direction I'm thinking. But that's real weird. Okay, Daenerys. Great. Okay, let's roll with Daenerys, alright? Now, does Daenerys exactly do a ton of fighting? Do we see her doing much other than riding dragons in? Not really, right? Like, is she proficient? Would we say that she's proficient in light armor, medium armor, and shields? Or like, you know, simple weapons, rapiers, and longswords? Didn't she at one point actually pick up a sword and just basically like flail around like Queen Elizabeth? She was not able to she never actually cast a spell. A summoner with an Eidolon? Potentially. Proficient with boobies. Yeah, there you go. She-Ra. So we can think about, like, warrior, right? Princess Ozma or Dorothy. Okay. So. I want you to be able to get the fairy princess that you want to out of this class, out of this subclass right here. I want this to hit all the right tropes. Boom, you know, whatever. That's why you can talk to beasts and plants. I even thought about reeling this back to where it was just beasts. I started clipping a few subclasses that were in here because, like, I mean, I don't want to get lost in all the thickets of. You know, there's so many concepts. I would rather try to reduce it down, you know. Okay, but Daenerys, all right. So, thank you. If we were gonna make Daenerys in D&D, wow, good on Google for correcting me there. You know, she'd probably likely have to have that Drake companion, right? And that's where, like, I think we can pretty comfortably get into that idea of here's where the companions are an expectation, you know. Whenever it's humanoids as retainers or something, I'm just not. It's not going to click for me. But whenever we shift that over to undead or dragons or potentially fae or beasts, okay, we're starting to. It's starting to click, right? There are. You know what's super funny? I want to just write this down. Hang on. Oh my god. Wow, I love this spell so much. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, I don't know where that would need to kick in. Like the Yue Dragon Master subclass. Oh, they actually made it into a subclass, Darren. I forget, you haven't really seen a lot of the newer stuff, have you? Would I count Robin Hood for the Thieves Guild idea? Maybe. Like, can I make Don Corleone with this? I don't actually know who that is. I've seen people bring up Don Corleone a lot, but I have no idea who that is. Yeah, so it actually, they dropped the Drake Warden. It has a, you know, dragon companion and whatnot. There's a lot of this that we could pretty much just copy paste over, but there's other, like, part of me thinks that this one's so held back because Rangers actually got a pretty beefy class. I don't know, we can figure something out with that. Don Corleone is a fairy princess? There's a really good, if you want, like, that kind of Thieves Guild sort of fantasy, it's a book series you gotta check out, alright? If you're really, really into that, I'll make a recommendation. If you haven't read this, please go pick it up now. Oh my god. Oh man, I almost want to reread it. You know what? Maybe this is gonna be what maybe, yeah. Okay. Guys, holy shit. The Lies of Locke Lamora and, like, the entire Gentleman Bastard sequence. Dude. I mean, there's a lot of real... Hey, yeah, Robotic knew it. Yeah, right. Lies of Locke Lamora. Holy shit. What a fucking killer book. This, like... Brandon Sanderson is the GOAT, right? Brandon Sanderson is, like, one of the best alive right now, if not the best fantasy writer alive. But, oh my god, the dialogue in Lies of Locke Lamora, this is such a sick book. If you're into that Thieves Guild type of fantasy, you need to read this. It's so good. Oh, well, I think to Awesome Soul, like, any DM that sees this class and is about to allow their player to play it should be aware that that exists. And if they're not, then, you know, just, hey, you can't use that one feature, you know, and we'll figure something out, right? Is it Murphy Napier's favorite book? Interesting. Wow, what a name drop. Murphy's another really great YouTube channel. I watch her and Daniel Green quite a bit. You don't really seem to like Sanderson writing? What'd you start out with? Because this is the one I would recommend starting out with. Question, did I take off commenting on the doc? No, can you message me your email on Discord so I can give you permissions again? I was just having quite a few people were not reading the first thing right here, and they were putting in suggestions and edits, so I had to, yeah, if you'll just send me your email, I'll give you commenting back, Darren. More of a Brent Weeks kind of reader. I've got one of Brent's books back there. What is it? Is he the Rage of Dragons guy? No. He's the light, oh my god, Light Bearer? No, what the shit? What is it? But I've got the Black Prism over there on my shelf in my, like, what I need to read. Cool. Let me take this over here for a second. Whoop. Okay, Darren, you should be good now. Lightbringer, thank you. Yeah, I've heard... I know about the magic system in that world, and it makes me very, very interested to see what what's going on with that. But I do think that this is probably the best magic system of any. Oh my god. Wow. Like, if you want to know how to write a brand new magic system, anytime that, like, whenever I was thinking about the Rune Keeper, um, I'm like thinking I want to introduce a new magic system into the game. What can that be? I'm always thinking about, like, God, I wish I could do something on the par of like Brandon Sanderson. This guy writes magic systems like nobody else. So, oh man, you will feel like Allomancy is an entirely other character in the entire book. Oh, it's so good, so damn good. Star from Star versus the Forces of Evil. Yeah, she's Star is like what I would point to if someone's asking about like Divine Soul Sorcerer. But yeah, I'd like to figure out, right? Like, how can we give you some potentially like a taste of that, right? Is that Darren? Are you highlighting stuff? Hey, Darren. Remain awakened for 1 week or so. There's an odd, like, I love this idea of, especially at later levels, dude, you can just make them. I think that's so cool. You can just awaken them. Awaken is just such a roleplay spell. You love the new magic systems. Unfortunately, 5e doesn't really allow you to limit magic overall in your setting because the setting kind of falls apart without limitless magic. In a way, yeah. I think using gritty realism goes a long way in helping that out. If you do like gritty realism, you get rid of Warlock. That already feels a lot like the world of The Witcher. Well, I say that. It's just a bit, how do I put it? Mass Awaken spell would be neat. You know, it's just Awaken is like, yes, it is a big ol' nice spell. I feel like I was on a point earlier and I've kind of gotten away from it, but I'll always get away from that to recommend Lies of Locke-Lamora. Now I really want to reread that. Oh man. Casting time of 8 hours. Hey Jordan, what's up? What's easier to design for, high or low magic system / settings? Maybe it doesn't matter, just curious. If I was to write like a brand new system, like, it's another reason why I'm just like not really looking at taking on the Scion anytime soon. That's going to require expanding out in a way like I did with the Rune Keeper, where it's going to need a solid while. It's going to need some hardcore like grinding on the setting, right? That's like grinding on the system. New spells or spell like effects, right? Like, yeah. You can use your action to cast Awaken without a slot or material components. Yep. Just as an action. Boop. That is like, this is honestly just such a roleplay thing. It is just a goofy, funny roleplay thing. Oh man, my memory right now is so weird. Okay. Now, I think if I'm like, it's weird because I think if I'm making a martial list, I have a lot less that I need to work with. And that's good. It's limiting me, right? I'm cutting out the idea of, can this thing ever get spells? If no, how can we give it as much stuff to not break it? Like, how much stuff can we give it that's infinite, that it can just use super reliably, that won't break the game down, right? What can we do in an interesting way that isn't just whenever you take the attack action, you get more out of the attack action, right? What's my opinion on making 3.5e prestige classes into feat chains if they don't have enough in line to be a subclass? I think that we can completely make prestige classes. You can absolutely make prestige classes a thing for 5e. In fact, I know plenty of people that have already done it. Converting them over into feat chains, I don't know that we'll see that Unearthed Arcana make it in the way that it is. Gritty realism is interesting. It reverses the 6 to 8 encounter problem. Works in dungeons, doesn't work outside, so working outside of dungeons, but not within the agonizing side. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, there are some classes that I'm like, man, you're gonna suffer so much. I mean, cantrips are in the game, so like, I guess they're not super missing out, but like, oh man. Yeah, Keep the Cobalt Queen had prestige classes. What would I do if anything from a UA got a second pass nowadays? Oh, what would... Wait, what? Tyranny becoming the oh, no, I don't know about that. I did have an idea. Man, this is forever ago. Of making like undeath as a class, like you're an undead. It doesn't fit well as a race, in my opinion. In my opinion, like, oh man, I just don't think undeath makes any sense as a race. Too much of the stuff that you would get to make the undead narrative work, like, absolutely has to be tied into a class. There has to be something there eating up power budget for you to really become an undead. And there's a lot of cool territory you can mess with on that. Oh, what would I do? Like, what if a lunar magic sorcerer got another pass? What would I do? Like, what would I do to it? Class plus race. The reason why it doesn't really work out for me is like, it's like this, okay? If I'm a zombie is not my race. I'm like a human zombie, okay? I'm like a dwarf zombie, or an elf zombie, or something, right? Skeleton does not, that's not a race. That's a literal anatomic structure. Like, you know, it doesn't click for me as a race. However, if you move away from the idea that undeath is always a race and you make it a class, you open up a lot of potential. I mean, you've seen Lich as its own class. I think you can make it work. Let me pull this up. Where do I have this? This was an idea I was kind of doing right before they dropped Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, but I lost steam on it. I think I started working on some other stuff and just kind of wound up petering out on this. But it's something I might always come back to one day. So you being an undead character, what would that mean in my like in my mind, right? You are you get your compulsion. This describes how you came to undeath, you know. Uh, Mummification, or you are an apparition, so you are literally a ghost in here. I love the layout choices I was kind of making on this one. Skeletons. You get these different traits and weaknesses, whatnot. Vampire, right here. Dhampir, like, I don't really know the whole narrative on Dhampir, so I'm not gonna even start trying to criticize that, but it just doesn't make sense as a race to me. You can become a zombie, boom, and then you level up and potentially become a ghoul, like, oh. So, you keep all your race features and levels and whatever, and then you go over here, and this is what you get, your risen form, and that describes what you were risen, you know, at. Wow, sorry about my throat right now. What you were brought back to life as, and then you have your compulsion, and all undead are risen underneath a sort of a compulsion, right? Your compulsion is what led you to undeath. This could be that you were resurrected, and then somebody was like, I need you to fulfill an order for me. So at that point, it's like, oh, maybe it's a compulsion of, where was it? Servitude. There we go. Boom. Your master was a necromancer, a demon, a genie, a fungus, a dracolich, a hag, you know, whatever. Compulsion of passion. How many times in fiction do we hear about somebody died and you are trying to make something right? There's an act of passion that's like behind why you're here, right? Oh, the compulsion of revelry. I love the Voodoo Loa Baron Samdi, and I was like, cool. What if it's like, yeah, you were the unlife of the party, right? Like, I thought that was super cool. What about a revenant? A revenant is, I think, was it vindication? I think this was the one for revenant. Yeah. Compulsion of wrath, right? Why are you there? What did you lose that led to you hating so much that you're actually still stuck here, right? Restless Bounty, yeah. So, like, I thought that this was a cool idea to go with it, but I think I just had so many other projects going on that, like, this just wound up kind of falling in the back seat. There was actually something about what was the stat block that made me think, like, yeah, we need to make this happen. Yeah, let's replace that. Cool to have a feature that revives you if someone casts something like Raise Dead or similar on you. What's interesting is currently in 5e, unless something like creates a new body for you, there's not really much coming back from undeath. If somebody casts Revivify on you, you're coming back as a zombie. Because, like, you touch a creature that has died within the last minute, your creature type is undead. It doesn't say that it returns you to life. Well, it does. It doesn't say that it reverts the process of undeath. So if you die as a zombie, you come back as a zombie. Like, what do I think about dragon player characters? I'm not sure. Are you asking, like, what should it be, a class or a race? The reason why it makes a lot more sense for undeath is because undeath is specifically not a race. Undeath is a curse. Local man so angry he refuses to die. like, construct might make sense. Well, construct is definitely like, that is a biological thing. What about like lycanthropy as a class? Is it cool? Where to go? Maybe we want class for it. For anybody that's trying to play a lycanthrope, I just suggest Rosalizers at Cursed. It totally works. Yeah, I've had multiple. I actually just had a lycanthrope accursed in one of my games, and it got scratched every itch. Aren't undead creatures immune to revival? There is nothing canon or nothing official that says that. Although, like, an effect that turns undead, that would turn you undead, I'd rather, that's part of the scary thing about, okay, here's the terrifying thing that happens whenever you're fighting a necromancer in D&D, and why, like, if a party member dies, and you're like, don't worry, we got resurrection magic, you'll be fine, man, like, you better get their body out of there. You better get their corpse. Even if you have something that can, like, well, I mean, magic that can just make them a new body, whatever. But, like, man, if your buddy is stuck back there, or stuck around with a necromancer for too long, or like Finger of Death, this is a anti-revivify. This is, you coming back as a zombie means you cannot be revived. Like, this is actually a pretty fucking strong spell. And you really rarely hear people talking about this all that much. Yeah, permanently under your control. Permanently under your control. Jeez. What do I think about Modify Memory as a spell? Yeah. In terms of what? Like, its power or potential, like, problematic narratives that it could be? Yeah. I think Modify Memory, in terms of, like, non-degenerate play, pretty great spell. I mean, pretty awesome in terms of, like, what it can do for roleplay. I think that, like, I kind of worry that Modify Memory is probably on WotC's chopping block for, like, spells that they might not put into the next edition. Whatever this next edition is. But you like Enchantment Wizard? Yeah. You wrote a spell that petrifies you if you reduce to 0 to stop revival BS. This, I mean... This is scary. Scary. There was actually a really cool... what was this one? This was a spell I remember seeing forever ago that was like the most evil sounding spell I had ever heard written for this game. And it was a homebrew that was over on D&D Beyond. It was, if I remember right, one of the highest reviewed Flame Strike. Akrama. Okay. It's been a while. When's the last time they updated this? Okay. I haven't seen this spell actually in a couple of years. But this is supervillain level scary, scary shit. Hey, Joseph, thank you so much for the $10. The only issue with an undead as a class is not all undead are marshals. There are some liches and stuff that are full casters, so you'd have to split it into 2 classes. You feel, oh, you can do the, like, at first level, you might get spells, you might not. Yeah, I mean, you can still work that in. This is the kind of thing that will write an entire campaign the moment that you give a villain this spell. Because, like, wow, I remember reading this and thinking, this is a fucking SCP right here. Akrama, 9th level spell, casting time of 1 action, duration of 1 round, range of 60 feet, school of necromancy. With a whisper, you imprint a vision from an otherworldly plane of existence onto the mind of a creature within range, forcing it to comprehend the incomprehensible vista. The target creature must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 12d10 necrotic damage and is incapacitated for the duration of the spell. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage and is not incapacitated. If damage caused by this spell reduces the target to 0 hit points, it immediately fails all of its death saving throws and becomes an achromatic husk. If it dies, the target calmly crouches or lays down and stares blankly at nothing. Its color desaturates until it is only shades of gray, and its body begins to flake like a log turning to ash in a fire. Though dead, the achromatic husk continues to mindlessly speak and begs for assistance, claiming to be experiencing a terrible burning thirst. A secondary creature suffers 46 collateral necrotic damage if it touches or attempts to aid the achromatic husk in any way, including casting ranged spells on it. Additionally, a secondary creature also suffers collateral damage for each minute during which it speaks to or can see the achromatic husk. The secondary creature is only aware of having received the collateral damage once it disengages from the achromatic husk, or when it has been damaged twice, whichever occurs first. A secondary creature whose hit points are reduced to 0 by the spell's collateral effects also immediately fails all its death saving throws and becomes an achromatic husk. The achromatic husk condition is not a curse or other common status effect and cannot be removed via normal restorative magic. The creature can be restored only by means of a true resurrection or wish spell, during which the caster suffers the above described collateral damage. If successfully resurrected, the creature's recovery from the ordeal of dying takes twice as long as suffer. Yeah, the creature remains permanently colorless. Like, whoa. This is a horror story. I love what this spell is. This is one of my favorite entries in all of D&D Beyond, from what I've seen. This is metal, right? The thing that you cast this on, if it dies, it just becomes a hollow fucking husk that doesn't know how to do anything except for beg for a drink of water. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck, man? And then if a creature tries to help it, you have built in a creature on top of this that is like it oozes plot. This tells you right here, if you want to tell your players this is a fucked up villain, Akrama is a great spell. This is so cool. I think that it could use some line editing, just a little bit of cleaning up. I think that, like, you know, this achromatic husk thing, maybe make a stat block. I think that D&D Beyond is pretty bad about, like, you can't link to something that's a homebrew or whatever. This is from D&D Beyond. This is, if you have D&D Beyond, you can go and browse their homebrew and you can find this spell. It is one of the highest rated homebrew spells on the entire site. I remember finding this a few years ago and I was like, yeah, I want that to be my villain spell. Yeah, this is one of the highest rated ones next to Power Word Yeet. Like, is it the highest rated? 226, that's it? That is quite a lot, though. I mean, for this site. Oh, origami. Okay, yeah, this is another really cool cantrip. Yeah, this is great. Egg. When you cast egg, roll a d6. You just make eggs. Yeah. Meme. Summon chair. Hmm. That's why. Test strike. Analyze blood. Okay, Akrama. So it's in like the top 10-ish. It is painful to fort homebrews onto. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, yeah. I can see why origami's at the top. Oh, this is by Kale. No shit. Kale was on home field advantage. Kale works for Kale does stuff for MCDM now. Wow. I had no idea. That is super interesting. I had no idea. This is a really, really fun cantrip. This is just super cute, and it like it totally gets across a unique kind of spell identity here. You've heard of the majority of my subclass overhauls on the D&D Beyond Eden post. Oh, I appreciate. Yeah, I mean, feel free to use them and whatnot. But yeah, it can. Sometimes it can be totally, innocent and whatnot. You're trying to make it available to your players. But yeah, always, double check. Be real careful about DM's Guild stuff. If it's something I've given out for free, like whatever. Yeah, usually a lot. I honestly have not updated my homebrew section in a while. God dang, that's something I should do at one point. Is just work on like the my homebrew section of my D&D Beyond. But I'm also kind of hesitant to really engage with it too much. But yeah, what's like? Let's just look around. What's like the? And we'll get back on the Sovereign. I'm just curious. What's like the highest rated subclass on here? Abatagist? What? Abatagist? For all their intelligence, some wizards can be rigid, hard-nosed adherents to tenets or misconceptions about magics, the planes and various denizens of each produce. For many hundreds of years throughout the realms, it has been... Wait, is this... Oh, wait, it's only got 2 points. Wait, let's go to... Alright. Anime... Okay, of course it's memes. Garlic Bread Domain. Of course it's memes. Ancient Dragon Patron. And then something that's filling a niche that I know a lot of people really want, right? Like, very cool. Oh, even new invocations? Ooh. And here you thought that... Hey, thanks for the $5, Joseph. Reaper / Brighter spells you were making that let you slowly mutate the captive creatures were horrible abominations. Yeah, Akrama's pretty top tier on narrative and horror for sure. Hey, what you doing? We're kind of just skimming D&D Beyond right now in the homebrew stuff, but we're still working on the Sovereign. Bat-like wings on your back? What about draconic wings? Isn't that the flavor? Oh, I guess not. But... No. Bless at Will is extremely strong. Extremely strong. Especially because it's 3 creatures. If Bless is only 1, I think that it's probably fine. Like... Yeah, if Bless is like 1, it's probably okay. I don't know. Um, wait, why Bless at Will? And then Chaos Bolt once for short rest. Yeah, and this is, of course, this is freebie, I don't know who Savage Vince is. And this is a free one that someone submitted, so, you know, there's all kinds of stuff in here that hasn't really gotten the professional kind of polish, you know. Bless is way better, way more reliable, yeah. I don't really know why they do Chaos Bolt once for short rest without expanding. Yeah. Your dex plus your con modifier as long as you're not wearing armor. So what's the features? When you receive damage of the type to which you're resistant per your Dragon Mark feature, reaction to absorb the damage and restore half the damage dealt to you. Oh. You could absolutely 100% just do, you absorb the damage, you restore hit points equal to the damage that would have been dealt, and then tie it into a shorter long rest, or by expending one of your spell slots to do it again. You can become a dragon. Young form of the chosen dragon. Gee, that's still really good. Yeah, that's still really good. But it's another issue where, like, it's another issue where this is a theme that unless you get a specific loadout, people tend to think it just doesn't really hit the mark because it's not doing what other subclasses around that same theme are doing, you know? So if it's not Draconic, it's not getting scales, it's not getting resistance, it's not getting a breath attack, it's not getting this whole big table that we see in every single dragon subclass, right? It feels like it's just not like a 5e Draconic kind of thing. It's that same issue I was talking about on another stream where I think it was on the Runekeeper, where I was like, yeah, there's a narrative here that, like, what do you do if you write a Draconic one? Well, you can get this, and this feature. It's part of why Primordial is kind of waiting, because, like, you know, I'm waiting for, like, the right thing to click that makes that subclass be like, oh, okay, yep, there we go, cool. Because otherwise it's just going to be, you do more fire, cold, acid damage to damage. It's just, you get resistance to that damage, you get immunity to that damage, you know, whatever. Thoughts on Flutes Loose Revised Assassin Rogue? That thing is sick. I haven't seen it. You haven't posted it. You threw some numbers out there. Oh, fusion. D&D style fusion. 2 goblins in a trench coat. As a rogue, you're just 2 goblins in a trench coat. On steel sleight of hand checks. Yeah, like, there should be, there needs to be, for D&D Beyond to improve their homebrew community, they should really pay some people to do some moderation. Moderation in terms of helping to improve or, like, guide people towards, like, what are the formatting, you know, kinds of things. Because, like, this is getting upvoted because memes, but, like, this is a dexterity sleight of hand check, you know? But too many hand, you know? Yeah, they should have, like, a meme section or, you know, whatever, right? Like, tag it as that, otherwise it might get cut down for quality. there is... They accept anything over here on D&D Beyond, which means that a lot of low-effort posts that are just about, like, something that's ridiculous that makes you laugh might get voted up, despite the fact that, like, it doesn't actually work, right? So their sorting is really not great for telling you what is, like, the good quality content. And, yeah. So, panic, two directions at once. This allows both goblins to move to their... okay, well split. Each goblin has half of remaining hit points. Yeah, like I mean it's a gimmick, funny joke subclass, yeah. Evening out weaker races, but watching people... Yeah, and you know. Oh, wait, what? Wait, what? Okay. Hold up. We'll look at Jordan's thing, but a pretty highly upvoted blue mage over here. That's source. Okay. What's up with this? Azure lore. Starting when you choose this origin at first level, your unique physiology. Wait. He's a beast in the form of a person. Okay, so that's the narrative you gotta justify. Okay. Ooh. Savage beast within. Okay. Like cowboy tiefling? Okay. This... I haven't seen anything about it. Let's see what's up. Starting when you choose this origin at first level, your unique physiology allows you to absorb and permanently learn to use new spells and monster abilities. When you are the target of a spell or a monster's non-weapon ability... Okay. I get what this is trying to convey right here. I wonder if there's a different way that you can write that. And by the way, critique wasn't asked for this or anything. I just wanted to clarify. I'm interested in what this could do. It's another reason why I'm always kind of hesitant on reviewing D&D Beyond stuff, because the critique hasn't really been asked for, and I don't want to seem like an asshole for... Yeah. I'm trying to be productive, and if I see something I don't like, I'd rather just move on. But, you know, than potentially be seen as like shaming something. But I'm always looking at D&D stuff a little bit critically, so sorry if something comes off as me sounding like an asshole. I'm not trying to be. Starting when you choose this origin at first level, your unique physiology allows you to absorb and permanently learn to use new spells and monster abilities. When you're the target of a spell or a monster's non-weapon ability... I know what this is going for here. Of a spell? Oh. Okay. So... does this mean that you can pick up spells that your buddies know? If you did an expanded spell list, that might be too good. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna hold off. You make a concentration check. If the ability causes damage, the DC equals 10 or half the damage you take, whichever number is higher. A concentration check. Okay. If the ability does not cause damage, the DC equals 8 plus the creature's proficiency bonus. Okay. On a success, you may add the ability to your list of Azure lore. You may only know a number of lore abilities equal to half your sorcerer level rounded down, plus your proficiency bonus. If learning new lore would cause you to exceed this maximum, you may choose a lore ability you know and replace it with a new one. You may not learn an ability from a monster whose challenge rating exceeds your level in the sorcerer class. You cannot learn layer or legendary abilities. Okay. After using this ability, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Okay. This kind of... I mean, this works. But there's a way that you can line edit this to kind of condense it down. And clean up some of the wording in here to make this function in the same way. Does not cause damage. I won't get super into that. I don't know, if Cowboy Tiefling saw this, hit me up. I'd love to help you out with cleaning this right here. You may cast any ability from your Azure lore as if it were a sorcerer spell. Non-spell abilities on your list by expending a spell slot at the appropriate level, determined by the challenge rating that you learned it from. Okay, so you've got all that. The DM may choose to raise or lower the required spell slot in her direction. Cool, you give that flexibility in here. That's an expectation. So I like this. I like what this is trying to go for. I get it. I 100% get this. There are 2 monsters that this would cause issues with. Alright, this won't work out the way that it's currently written. Because you can steal this. Yeah, even if it costs spell slots, you're still using something like Petrifying Gaze. Wait, these are... No, these are all official. Okay. So, Petrifying Gaze, and even if you're like, well, then they're going to have to see that Basilisk, and I can always remove that. The Cockatrice is potentially causing this to work as well. This also sounds like it would work with a Beholder that also has a Petrification Ray. So, like, yeah, and I get what that's going for. But the big reason why you can't do that is because, boy, is it unbalanced because it's not repeatably castable by spell slot once per long or is it wait, unbalanced because it's not repeatable once per rest is a firm limit. What? Cast as normal by meta magic. Whoa, okay. It's not, okay, so it's not a matter of, we're not talking about a resource exchange here. That's an issue. It's a fact of this is a CR1 creature right here that I could probably, yeah, me spending a first level spell slot to petrify a thing. That's gonna break the game. Reason being, petrification is a very strong effect. So strong, in fact, it can kill a Tarask. Now, the Tarask had better burn these legendary resistances, and, you know, it's got its magic, you know, whatever. There is potential for you to basically just kill a Tarask with petrification. That's also the kind of power that WotC felt was necessary to tie behind a 7th level spell. You thought it didn't allow passive effects? I think that's an action that it got, right? 6th level spell with 3 con saves. Yeah. You can also get Petrifying Gaze from the Medusa. Intellect Devourer might be a problem too. There's also the Shadow. This is... Boy. I mean, petrification is strong and all that. Whatever. Let me just go... I mean, challenge rating of a half to just keep spamming Strength Drain. That I could do as... Oh. It wouldn't really work. This is inelegant, but if you didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, just take the druid out. Add 1 or 2 problematic features like petrification or behind it. It would require a complete rework of that feature. I like what it wants to go for, but you can't... There's some monsters that have real scary stuff on here that just can't be allowed to really work. I mean, you just being able to reduce a target strength score by 1d4 is the kind of thing that, like... this is only fair in the game going from DM to player. Once you do player to DM, this is the kind of thing that, like, winds up being the only thing that you ever really do, because it's extremely effective. Like, not many creatures are ever going to be able to, like, recover from that, right? Until it finishes. Well, like, what I mean is, practically in a combat scenario. What it really means is that you now somewhat put a timer on how long combat's going to go. Is this going to be a thing that's going to be, like, killing a Tarask? No. Not reasonably, right? Well, I say that as long as you hit with it. As long as you hit with it and you can meta magic it, it specifically calls that out. Sure, you're gonna get the Petrifying Gaze, but it's gonna be 7th level though. Oh, right. It's not capital G good design, but when 1 or 2 class features completely break a homebrew class feature, I feel like it's ever. Yeah, and that's fine. Like, you know what? Like, and that's what I'm saying. You know, I'm mostly looking at it just like, hey, this is something that someone submitted over here on D&D Beyond. They're not charging money for it or anything like that. I'm just curious about what's in here. And I was just giving, you know, whenever I'm looking at a homebrew, what am I kind of worried about? What am I looking at? If you're wondering what my, like, seal of approval is, whenever I look around for what's exploitable, some things that I'm thinking about, right? Petrification is the kind of thing that I think would be very, very cool to come up with a concept around. But, like, man, it can really cheese a whole lot of shit in this game. And just make it to where combat is kind of unfun. Because, like, okay, cool, I shut down this combat encounter that the DM planned, and we're going to move on to another thing I'm going to turn into a statue. You know, and, like, it doesn't feel like... There's not enough creatures that have immunity to that. Yeah, it's the kind of thing I really, really worry about. Even though I think it's cool. I like the idea. I want to be able to petrify things. That sounds super sick. You mean I can have a cockatrice pet? That'd be awesome. I'd love to do something like that. Maybe a cockatrice farmer or something. Sure. But, man, that is a real rough condition. Oh, no, yeah, I was just skimming over on D&D Beyond because there was a spell I really loved, and I saw this, and I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, so I won't go too much further, but, like, yeah, if I'm looking around and considering a piece of homebrew, that's the sort of stuff I'm sort of looking out for. Petrification is a big, scary thing, And that's the thing that's always hurting a blue mage from making it into the game, is like, what can you do to evoke that flavor? Because like, it's a super cool idea. It's so goddamn cool. You get to just learn monster abilities and cast them as spells. That's so fucking sick. But like, oh man, there's just not a real graceful way to do that in the game right now. Benjamin got closer. Like, I tried to do one as like a Wizard School of Adaptation, as like one of my first ever like subclasses I ever made. Oh god, I haven't seen it in forever though. It requires you to hit 5 consecutive unarmed attacks, and they have to fail a save. 5 Venom style martial arts shenanigans. Interesting. What was that? Oh god, NACS, question for you. If Wizards offered me a job as a full-time designer, would I accept it? Under these terms. Okay. Alright. So I had a conversation with Wizards about a job. Last year? Was it 2 years ago? God, I can't remember when that was. Made it to the second round of the interview process. I found out, though, this was actually for a product management job, not a design job. So, whenever they had heard that I worked on D&D, they had asked if I might be interested in talking about a position over there, but it didn't wind up like kind of going much anywhere. I do know of people that have interviewed for spots at WotC for design jobs. Now, if I was going to accept a job at WotC, okay, it would have to come with, okay, how do I put it? Yeah. Well, it would have to be a salaried position. Salary position at over 70k. No. Whenever I tried to price it out, and Renton, whenever I was originally interviewing, I don't think that I could originally afford it at what they were offering for the design spot. Whenever I know about, okay, so what I heard that they're paying their designers, it's more like, now, all right. Now, this would be able to get me, I'm 32 years old. All right. What I want is a house with a yard and 3 to 4 bedrooms, because I'm ready to actually start up a family and do all that stuff. I got to start thinking about my future, right? So, I need the kind of money that's going to be able to not just afford me like a means of living, right? Is going to be the kind of thing I can do long term. That is going to be me putting down money on a house or whatever. This right here, if WotC offered me like remote work, then yeah, I could live in Oklahoma and then do this remote. Yeah, I'll do that for 65k a year. You kidding me? 100%. I won't do that in Washington. Washington, this would get me maybe a 1-bedroom house. I'm definitely not buying that. I am renting that too. Like, ugh, man. So I would also need insurance benefits, which I think that, if I remember right, that's what they offered. I needed full dental, health, vision, all that. They did offer that. I would also need moving expenses paid. Probably about. I mean, it would have to. It would have to be like. Full health instrumental. Man, like, and that's the thing. If a company is telling you that they want you to work for them, right, and they're not willing to cover your cost of moving and everything, that company doesn't want you bad enough. And like, honestly, me asking for 12K for moving costs is, that's not a lot. That's really not a lot. Actually, I'd probably be dipping into my own, like, expenses to cover that as well. Or my own finances to cover that as well. Oh man, it's kind of a, like, I just don't see it really practically working out with what they're currently paying their designers. I would really need something a bit more senior. I don't mean senior position. I mean, I need something that's going to be a bit more up in the, like, this is really not asking a whole lot for a job in Renton, Washington. You're 10, 15 minutes away from Seattle. Most people are making double, if not triple this in that area anyway. So, like, come on now, you know? Yeah, if this was remote, I would take that immediately. Immediately. I mean, like, quit my job, everything. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But living in Washington, I can't make that work. I would also need... God, what else? Man, I don't know. Another problem I've kind of had is whenever I work on a collaboration and I submit a thing that's supposed to be represented as my work, and then I can tell the person who's in charge has a different vision of a thing, and there's a clash that happens there. So, like, not really having full control over what you're creating, man, that's rough. Like, a part of me loves just the freedom of, I can make homebrew shit for this and make it the way I want to and then publish it, and if people like it, they'll pay me for it. That's cool. I like having that kind of a creative freedom, right? But if I work for someone like WotC, I don't know that I'm going to have the freedom to explore that territory anymore, you know? Some of those guys that are working on that team have contracts for, like, exclusivity, right? They can't go take their work, or they basically can't work for WotC while also publishing for somebody else. Although it seems like that policy may have been relaxed recently. But, yeah. So, I get the freedom to kind of write what I want to write and put it out there and experiment. And I don't have somebody that's telling me, no, you can't do that. Or what bothers me even more, God, and this is like kind of a reason why I'm not big on doing a collaborative project at the moment, is whenever I have an idea and I submit it, and then oh god, this isn't like, no, okay, whenever I have an idea and I submit it into whoever and it's drastically changed without consulting me about it, that is something, to quote my Montiero, that is a fireable offense, and yes, I can fire you. Like, you know, if you've got me on commission, I can also fire you as a client. Yeah, that is something that oh man, I think that is incredibly bad form. So like if I was working on a team and found out that someone had taken the thing that I wrote and then had somebody else change it, and then that's what they presented it as under my name, we're gonna have a big fucking problem. A big problem. Yeah. That's like, imagine that you drew up a piece of artwork. Imagine you drew up a piece of artwork and submitted it for a thing, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, it looks great. And then you find out that someone later on went into Photoshop and added, I don't know what to it. They didn't tell you. And then you don't see until you get the book in that your artwork's not what you originally wrote, but that's what, you know, whatever. Not only that, but it's a vastly worse vision of, or quality, lower quality work than what you submitted. I would 100%, that's me saying, like, you screwed up, man. Like, we're gonna have to talk about how we're gonna fix this. You go ballistic. I'm glad I'm not the only person who seems to think that this is really bad form. And, you know, I know that you guys are like in my chat and everything, and I try not to make it any, I really try not to make it an echo chamber. But this is the kind of thing that I think that most creatives understand is a pretty indefensible thing that you do to another creator. Because goddamn, whenever I tried to explain it to this product manager, they just seemed to write me off like I was being a crazy asshole. So, yeah. Such a WotC thing. Well, I won't say that it's a WotC thing. No, that hasn't been, as far... Oh, no, wait. WotC did do this, didn't they? Holy shit, wait, they did do this. Oh my god, no, wait, you're right. Candle, is it Mysteries at Candlekeep? Yeah, no, yeah, if the editor is saying that there's issues, then it should go back to the writer, and the writer should be in charge of how we're gonna overcome that, right? If you take somebody's creative vision and then you bastardize it with an editor, and then you're just like, oh yeah, we don't need to go double check with them or whatever. No, that's super bad form, and I think extremely unethical in creation. Yeah. Yeah, POC, yeah. So, yeah, there's a... Hang on, I've got the book. It's, no. Isn't it this one? No, Timur Raymond. No, that guy's actually working at WotC. No, Book of Cylinders, right? Other beast races. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, they just filed the serial numbers off and made it all about savages. Gotcha. You can tell you, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this one right here. Book of Cylinders. I remember this trending. Yeah, the Gripply. Here you go. So, long story short, for anybody that doesn't know about this one, what basically happened, this guy, Grammy, I hope I'm saying that right, or this person, sorry, Grammy Barber, submitted a story in that, oh yeah, hey, Wintry, what's up? Submitted this adventure into WotC for this book, and apparently WotC had an editor go through it and changed a few things that wound up making it actually come off as a little, well, there's some of the things that, and I haven't really delved into this one, So I don't know exactly what they say or what happens here. But it's my understanding that some of the themes come off as actually pretty racist. And the person that wrote this wrote this as a means of like introducing what it could be to have an adventure that embraces diversity rather than, and wasn't consulted about how this adventure was edited, and this is just how it was published, and they didn't know about the changes until after they had received their copy. That is what I would consider to be, this person would be completely 100% within their rights to consider actually filing legal charges about that. You've heard it, yeah, you've heard of this happening. I think that this person would be 100% within their rights to say, no, and I'm actually owed, man, like, it depends on the contract. It does. It depends on the contract, but like still, WotC should know better than this. I wrote this about Book of Cylinders. This is an adventure where what was published did not show what the author had intended. Well, yeah. Like, and I don't know because I haven't run this. Where it explains the differences. I enjoyed hearing Graham's perspective before running this adventure. I know Daniel Kwan submitted an adventure to this one. It was the I can't remember. I have not I haven't been able to run this book at all. But I will say, like, I mean, Tale of the Yawning Portal was like one of my favorites, and this one just seemed like it came out and was like kind of overwhelmingly panned, not even in terms of the content that was within it, more so just because of like that whole issue that happened. And yeah, there could be a lot of bad rep on the creator. Yeah, and that was part of the reason why that creator actually called WotC out on Twitter, was because not only was it like, you guys edited my book without letting me know, or edited my story without letting me know, it's a vastly different representation of what I had intended, and there's some themes in here that people will associate with me now, rather than, you guys taking the flack for this, and that's not right either. To try to say that, like, yeah, this is a representation of this author, right? Like, come on. Did they even add anything about, like, maybe a disclaimer saying, like, there were some editing things that were made? There was, like, WotC actually released a statement about that whole situation when it went down. Two Annihilation and Curse of Strahd peak 5e modules. Frostmaiden comes in third place. Really? You think Frostmaiden's third? Man, Tales from the Yawning Portal is just way up there for me. But, I mean, I know it's not like a whole adventure per se. But, god damn. Like, that to me is like, yeah, give me this big book of just random adventures I can throw in wherever I want. But I guess they're good by virtue of, like, having been previous modules, Frostmaiden with some work is so good. I know I have my players really into the story. But yeah, running that first chapter is pretty, unless you've been, okay, I don't recommend that a new DM try to run Rime of the Frostmaiden, but a DM that's actually run an adventure or two and knows how to prep, like, open yourself up to, like, that first chapter being a sandbox. Yeah, Tales is amazing for borrowing for short campaigns. My favorite is, yeah. It's such a, oh man, it's such a great resource. Oh, yeah, Ghost of Saltmarsh. I... Oh, actually, here's all the adventures right here. Okay. I haven't heard people really talk about, I haven't really heard people talk about Baldur's Gate other than it's like Mad Max in hell. And cool. All right. I don't know. It doesn't really super appeal to me. This one, Lost Library, or Laboratory of Quailish, actually sounds incredibly cool from what I read and whenever I was going to prep it, but I was prepping it right before the pandemic. Everything I remember about this sounds like just a dope one-shot. Really cool. Insert this if I need a explanation for why maybe planar magic. Oh man, this is a big seed for like what could be a whole branch of a campaign. This is a really cool one-shot. I highly recommend. You put White Plume Mountain in Storm King's campaign. White Plume Mountain is a great dungeon. Oh man. Oh man. It has an incredibly bad first chapter. Interesting. Candlekeep Mysteries. I'm down for these styles, right? Candlekeep and Tales from the Yawning Portal. Give me these like shorter adventures, sure. I haven't really run anything from here. I got the book and it just kind of sat on my shelf. Okay. This is... if we're talking not modules, but let's just say adventures that you can get out there. Lost Mine of Phandelver? Dude, this is just a great starting adventure. Lost Mine of Phandelver is actually really well put together. All the dungeons are gonna be memorable. They do a really great... Yeah, it's prime classic D&D, right? They do a very, very... Is there a good way? Oh, cool. Okay, let's do this. Lost Mine of Phandelver. Okay. If you're new to D&D, if you're a newer DM, and you want an adventure that feels like it might as well run its fucking self, boy, this is a great starting adventure. That first dungeon, Cragmaw, I love it. It has so many moments that you can interact with the dungeon itself to completely subvert some parts of it, give your players an edge, whatever. Like, man, it teaches you about stealth, it teaches you about combat, noise, darkness. Like, this is an amazing first starting adventure right here. Highly, highly praised Lost Mine of Phandelver. Curse of Strahd, I have never run it. I hear people say that this is their favorite campaign of all time, that this is just like the god tier. Every module has needed to get up to this par. Yeah. Curse of Strahd has a lot of TPK moments that are like fairly infamous for just wiping AL characters. So like, you know, questionable there. But I haven't seen the Curse of Strahd remastered. I haven't actually gotten into that one yet. So it'd be interesting to look back on it. But, you know, it also just like, man, vampires. I came up in the age where like, man, I was so sick and fucking tired of hearing about Twilight that like, I think I just grew a distaste for vampires as a thematic, and it just, you know, whatever. I can skip remastered. I'll tell you what, they definitely fucked up Esmeralda. That's, you know, you guys can see my video on that, I'm sure. Horde of the Dragon Queen, and actually, yeah. So, Akita. From what I remember, these two adventures right here were not actually written by Wizards of the Coast. They were written by Cobalt Press. The system was new, and I think they were still trying to figure out how we can balance encounters, what our skill checks even going to be. It wasn't handled in-house, so maybe it just kind of lacks that polish, you know? I remember, I also just had a really weird experience with Horde of the Dragon Queen that, you know, I went to go play this publicly with Amanda at a local game shop, and the DM, boy, oh, that was a rough experience. This was like 6 years ago. We were just wanting to get another night of D&D in every week, so we just went with a rando table at, yeah, it was a bad time. But the first encounter in here, the first big encounter, I'll say, yeah, it being pretty empty. And I think they were going for something really cinematic with the first big encounter that happens in this one. But God, it feels so railroady. Yeah. Do they suck? I didn't play or do anything with them. Yeah, they were the new. Yeah, these two. They're rough around the edges. I think that I trust Chris Perkins in adventure design enough to maybe do another. I don't know. I just don't know that people are really interested in playing either of these right now. I tell you what WotC should do is they should probably hire like JBC Perry to come in and just start writing for them for real. Like, yeah. Chris Perkins is great, but they could also use more people. Like, yeah. You have a blip. Let me hang on for a second and get that sorted out. All right, cool. Where are we at? Lost Mine of Fandolmer. Great. Awesome. You're caught up in the mess without having much of an agency. It's a video game. Yeah. Horde of the Dragon Queen is basically, it's going to railroad you. If you don't go on the railroad, it's going to try and find a reason to kill you real early. And like, meh. Out of the Abyss. I also haven't run this one yet. I don't really know a whole lot about what's happening with this one. The cover is one of my favorite covers, though. This one just feels like such a... Oh, man. There's so much, like, intimidation in this artwork. I really dig the look of the Demogorgon here. I don't know what the hell's happening with this one. Usually, like, we're all gonna go to hell just doesn't... I don't know, that kind of an adventure just doesn't always appeal to me. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot sometime. I just always honestly forget that this is even an adventure, though. It just, yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get here. Princess of the Apocalypse, very cool thematically. Very damn cool. I prepped this and I was super down to run it. Got about 5 sessions in on it and had an issue where the place that I was running this with wound up having to close their doors to Adventurers League. So we didn't get to actually wrap up that. I didn't get to run this whole thing. But if you're really into the idea of like elemental planar travel, boy, there's some real cool like primordial thematics happening here. And the party will wind up fighting like what feel like actual demigods in a way. This is actually a really cool adventure. I'd love to like actually run it sometime. Rise of Tiamat suffers from the same issues as Horde of the Dragon Queen. Yeah. I will say though, it's cool to have a sequel like this, because we haven't had that happen again. I mean, you might be able to say that like Icewind Dale is somewhat of a sequel to this, but they're still not connected. Having that through line, it'd be cool to see them do another adventure like that, building off to where here's a later level thing, you know. Storm King's Thunder, it's cool, but I like the dungeon designs I remember seeing in this one. But like for newer DMs, I think it's fair to say for newer DMs, Storm King's Thunder might be a little bit rough around the edges. I'm trying to phrase things without giving any spoilers. You played half of Storm Kings. It was okay, but I don't. You don't know how's the ending. Oh, you're right. No, you're right. Michael Rehe. Yes, they are coupled too. Yeah, no, you guys are right. Yeah, and those are very well received adventures. Storm King's Thunder, though, it did introduce like giants and giant runes, so I guess I kind of have to be a little bit more biased there. But these giant themed adventures, like just giant themed. Maybe if the modules weren't so central to like a certain creature or creature type, I might like them a little bit more. Because it seems like whenever they do that, they kind of fuck it up. Right? Like, here's the undead adventure. Here is the dragon adventure. Here is the elemental adventure. Here's the demon adventure. Here's the giant adventure. Here's the... Well... Huh. You know? I think that I actually prefer the adventures that they write that aren't so, like, specifically themed around, like, a certain creature type, you know? Please give me a sequel to Avernus. Was it? That's funny, because chat seems, like, kind of divided on this. Undead Jungle with Dinosaurs. Yeah, that's great! I love it! Yeah, anyway, Storm King's Thunder, like, there's some pretty important things that happen in terms of, like, explaining what's going to happen canonically in the Forgotten Realms within this book. I guess the direction that they want to go with that, so, you know, cool. Tales of the Yawning Portal. This is... You should... Oh, man. Get the three... New DMs out there should get the core 3 rulebooks, Lost Mine, and Fandelver. Run Fandelver for sure. If your party likes D&D at that point, then I would say what you should probably do, and what would be really goddamn cool, and I would play in this campaign in a heartbeat, is just run Tales from the Yawning Portal from front to back. Maybe skip Tomb of Horrors, but like run this front to back as its own standalone adventure. Dude, I would play in that in a heartbeat. Oh my god, I would love that campaign. These are some of the best dungeons from all of D&D's history, adapted for 5e, and they do a very damn good job. Very, very good job. I would recommend, after you get the core rulebooks, yeah, pick up Tales from the Yawning Portal. God, you can literally slot this book into any campaign whatsoever, and I love this. Yeah, like the Company of a Questing Guild, right? Yeah, awesome. In fact, that might just be the thing I'm gonna do for my new campaign I'm setting up. We might just fucking run that. That'd be really goddamn cool. It is great as a GM tool. You will learn so much about dungeon design by getting this book. Getting this book and prepping it. So good. Okay. Tomb of Annihilation. What does chat think? Yeah, before I give my opinion on this one, I'm real curious what chat thinks about Tomb of Annihilation. Has a lot of uncomfortable colonialist tropes. Does it? Worst final boss. Fair. Fair. Mega Dungeon 2 out of 10. Interesting. Okay. I feel like this adventure right here, is probably one of the strongest ones that they've written. And part of that has to do with how goddamn ridiculous it is. In case you all didn't actually know, Pendleton Ward is one of the story consultants on this. The guy that wrote Adventure Time. Pendleton Ward helped to kind of shape the character of what this adventure was supposed to be. And I think up to that point, he might have just been like, you know what? Not a lot of people know that you can just have like dinosaurs in your fantasy. And like it was just such a cool, like, wait, what? You can do that? A lot of people that were, this had the benefit of being released, like, what was it, 2016 or 17? Was it 2018? Let me see. When did this book come out? The release date. Okay. 2017. Cool. Okay. So, this is a very, very funny adventure. It has a cool hex crawl that if you're keeping track of all that stuff, you have, you know, whatever. If you run this as a survival heavy kind of a campaign, I will give Tomb of Annihilation a lot of credit as being the first adventure that felt like travel and survival actually fucking matters. A ranger in Tomb of Annihilation is going to be way more relevant than a ranger in, like, I mean, Princess of the Apocalypse. Like, all the survivalist elements that are going to come up in TOA make it to where some classes are going to be better. Their roleplay features are going to really, really show. It is an exploration-like campaign, hex crawling. Yes. Yeah, it goes over the top with the encounters, and I love that. Whenever they give you the opportunity to just be fucking ridiculous with the encounters, right? Dinosaur races. Like, yes, give me that wackiness. I love that in my fantasy. It might not appeal to every player because, like, some people want to play D&D for a bit more, maybe slightly serious fantasy in a way. But, like, man, there's some real dark shit that happens in this book. You've never enjoyed survival that much? And fair. Yeah, it does really need a specific party. You played it with a party of 8. Oh, and the boss. Yeah. The final boss encounter seems to have been somewhat is it? I don't think controversial is the word I'm looking for. Maybe. I would go so far as to say it has a particularly there's 2 dungeon rooms in this book that have caused kind of a stir. One of them feels like it's just like it's required for you to make a pretty goddamn crazy contraption to make it work. And Matt Mercer ran this at a convention. What was that? I'm just trying to figure out where they did this. Does anybody know the D&D convention where Matt Mercer ran Tomb of Annihilation and ran the Chamber of Gears? And then they bring out the goddamn prop, and it's like, it's one of those showpieces that makes people go, what? This is what D&D is? Oh my god. Was it the meat grinder? No. It's, so Force Grey, I think it was a Force Grey thing, but there's a room in Tomb of Annihilation. I mean, Slight spoilers. But it's not spoilers for the story. Gears of Hate. It's this goddamn book. It's Force Gray, but like what? I couldn't find the episode. I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be pretty late into it. Yeah. It's in the Tomb of the Nine Gods, so it would be... They did this live, right? Okay. Does he bring out... Because this is a big-ass prop. And it's a cool prop. But it might give people the... Oh, there it is. Right? Okay, here we go. This prop is very goddamn cool. The rooms are really cool. I know, keeping you guys in suspense here. Let me just see where he actually brings this thing out. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm kind of skipping around. Has he uncovered it? God, come on, show it off. Where's the... Has he already shown it off? Because I thought there was like a big reveal where they do the overhead pan. Let's just skip ahead so you guys can see. So in this room, the Gears of Hate, there are 3 separate chambers that are all hexagonal, and they'll rotate based on what buttons the players press inside the dungeon. I'm trying to skip to like an overhead view of it. God damn it. Come on. But this feels like the kind of dungeon design that would really require props and maps and everything, and not everybody's got... Yeah, here we go. Okay. So the rooms are all these, I guess they're... wow, me being pentagonal. They're all pentagonal rooms set upon gears. And you press these separate buttons that they have over here, and it rotates the rooms in a certain direction, right? So this feels very cool, and it looks amazing here, right? But this is an extremely complex chamber, and if you're trying to run this with theater of the mind, this is virtually impossible. The DM has got so much they have to track here. And this looks really cool and flashy, right? If you're a crafting DM, you're going to love this. Because you get like some lazy Susans and just make it to where these actually turn for your players. Very sick. But without that physical representation of what's going on, your players are going to feel super lost. This is like one of the most confusing dungeons in the world, unless you have this hard physical representation like that. Great idea, but it's not practical at every table, and I can tell that would upset some people. And the final boss of Tomb of Annihilation, the story is so cool. The story is so cool, and that final boss makes sense. But it could feel kind of lame. I get that. And I think that they've even discovered there's ways that like the cinema, everything of that can get pretty ruined by some easy ways. But yeah, I will say there's a lot more about Tomb of Annihilation that I absolutely love than I kind of call into question. But yeah. Almost had an aneurysm when we hit that section. Yeah, because it's a lot of like, wait, so what rotation are we in? Okay, so Yeah, there's no cool factor in the rooms rotate again in Theater of Mind, right? That is a very, very flashy thing whenever you have that at the table, but like otherwise, uh, you can take a lot of times since there's not a tracker thing going on, sure. You just thought it should have been stronger. And fair. Rakama, this is an Eberron thing? Which I've never run, so I have no opinion on this one. Waterdeep Dragon Heist. You know how cool this is to like just roll up a Thieves Guild? Like, this made some rogues look scary relevant. What WotC should do is rather than go in this direction and think like this is the way that we need to write roleplay centric campaigns, go back to this goddamn direction right here. This is all about intrigue and what information are we going to uncover. Like, this is, if you want your players to feel like detectives or like they're rolling up in a thieves guild, whatever, great. The fact that you can run this adventure 4 times and get completely separate adventure paths, and it's intentionally designed to be that, super cool. Very well executed. Very experimental module. Heist was great. You didn't play the other seasons, but Summer was really good. Maybe the GM, but yeah. This is a really cool adventure. Very, very cool adventure. Yeah, I still recommend Tales from the Yawning Portal over this one. I don't know. To anybody that's played both, I'd be interested if you thought that you would rather play in Tales or Waterdeep. Waterdeep's just like oozing with flavor. As a DM, it's so much work. Not recommended as a newbie, but as it was hell. It requires a certain amount of prep. But yeah, I'll say, I'll agree with you, Akita. I don't think that this is any harder to prep than this was. Yeah, and there's a different flair to Waterdeep, right? You're getting that real, like I said, Thieves Guild kind of fantasy out of this. Ocean's 11 D&D style, you know. Maybe not Dale, but Strahd is harder. Strahd asks quite a bit of the DM. Dragon Heist was made for streamers, I think, not for regular DMs. Interesting. I mean, I could see all of Waterdeep Dragon Heist happening complete Theater of the Mind. And the fact that it actually got a cool follow-up in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Yeah, Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I wish we would see more of this happening, right? WotC drops an adventure on us, and then 6 months later, you know, yes, this is a complete, let's say, 1st to 8th level. Whatever. Let's do that in this adventure, and then take us from 9th and above. Or like, I mean, you want to go all the way up to 10th? I'm just thinking of that 3rd tier play, right? 9th and above, boom, have that be the follow-up. I think that'd be a really cool sequence. And I just noticed that there's a beholder in the background on both of these. And that is a really cool detail. They are basically exact mirror. How did I never notice that? They are basically exact. That's awesome. I had never noticed that. Huh. Dungeon of the Mad Mage is not a sequel to Dragon Heist? Dragon Heist streamer confirmed. It was a follow-up in Adventurers League. Like, the whole season was basically Waterdeep. and you were like, yeah, it's the continuation. You go Dragon Heist and then... not spiritually, sure. This is a mega dungeon. Mecha dungeon. The cover's the same. Well, yes, you can run either without running the other. It's not the same vibe. I mean, I think that if you were gonna play a level 1 to 13 campaign that was nothing but intrigue, it'd get pretty old pretty quick. They do mix it up, but you know, yeah. Imagine going from political intrigue to mega dungeon, huge whiplash. It's not all political intrigue. Yeah. Terran's 100% right here. Damn straight. But making it this big break is weird. Like... It was to be run at the same time? Then it seems like the consensus is kind of all over the place on that one. You have to do a mega dungeon one day. The do you mean to play one or to run one? Oh yeah, they were using this artist all over all their covers around that era. I would bet just from looking at it, like, okay, Dragon Heist, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Tales from the Yawning Portal, Storm King's Thunder. I'm not sure about Tomb of Annihilation. While I'm listing these, I think they're all by the same artist, because there's a real style that forms that we don't really see continued in the more modern stuff, so I don't know what happened with that. Like, I don't know if they've all been the same artist or not, but it seems like the style back then was like, man, there was a certain like sharpness and like, I don't know, I love those covers. Your bonus action or reaction for authority. I don't know. We haven't totally fleshed that one out just yet. Otherwise, Dragon of Icefire Peak. I played this one first, second, and I think we got the third level. All I remember is it's very possible for an adventuring party of first level characters to just by doing what the book tells you, potentially run into a CR. I don't want to spoil anything. Hang on. Potentially run into a CR5, I want to say. No, okay, so that's a little bit more reasonable. Your party can pretty easily get wiped at first level. Just by going down one of the regular, like, expected, very easy to stumble into side quests. So I only recommend this if you're looking for, like, maybe you want your party to follow up on what you built already in Lost Mine of Phandelver. Well, in Akita, that's fair. I'm fine with, like, you know, throwing a little bit harder of a challenge at them or whatever, but not at first level characters. Third level characters can handle a CR5 creature. First level characters can't handle a CR3 creature. That's asking quite a lot. Not without some pretty nice racial traits or objectively busted subclasses. I'm sure you can do it with Twilight Domain. Yeah, and it adds in extra content to Lost Mines. Yeah, actually, you know what? That would be kind of cool to see what you could do to like blend Lost Mines and Icefire Peak. I think like you could actually have quite a few just pretty vast. That could be a pretty cool book to see. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So Ghost of Saltmarsh, I haven't run it. I was happy to see that they were doing a nautical campaign. I like the rules that they have for vehicles that are in here for the sea vessels. Great, great stuff. Um, Saying that, I haven't seen anything that's really, really in here. Um, but I dig the idea. I dig the aesthetic of it. Grim, nautical, big tentacles eating a ship. Yes, cool. This feels like it could be really dope, and it seems like something I might really actually like. They don't actually use them now? Motherfucker. There's content on DM's Guild to mix both campaigns, and Bob Worldbuilder did something like that for a video. Oh, cool. Man, oh, that's a shame. That would have been really cool to see. I mean, I wrote that Mariner Merchant to try and like, knowing that those vehicle rules exist in the game. So there's mechanics I wrote for that were meant to enhance nautical, like, you know, combat and stuff. Oh, that is weird. Man, that's a real fucking shame. Oh. The adventure book, Hunt for the Thessal Hydra. This is for the Stranger Things thing. I haven't seen it. I haven't run it. They use the Terraria font on the front. That's cute. Next. Descent into Avernus, Mad Max in Hell. It's all I've really been told. Again, just, it's not really a whole thing that appeals to me. And, you know, I think that newer players might be expecting something that's not quite like we're throwing you into hell kind of thing. I think that like new players should most likely, if you know that your table is going to be mostly new, God, I'm recommending some of the ones that I'm thinking are like real classic kind of feeling dungeon crawl, you know. Descent into Avernus, you really want to run it, but you're not sure how to run it. Oh, there's better vehicle rules in here? Jeez, that's a lot of maps. Infernal War Machines. These are the vehicles. So it looks like really similar rules to boats that we saw. Like Soul Fuel. Oh, but that is like a stat block. Hey, we have a motorcycle now. Motorcycle, dune, buggy. Yeah. See what I mean? It's just Mad Max in hell. And, you know, it's fine. It's just not the kind of thing that appeals to me. I would think that if you're going to see a mechanic like that, where they're introducing a brand new thing into the game, probably should go for something a little bit more. Oh, Joseph's right. Yes. And thank you for the $10, by the way. The main reason Tomb was hated was because it made permadeath with no hope of resurrections as well. Unfair debuffs for the PCs that had already been resurrected prior. A thing. Yeah. That's a very good point, actually. Tomb Annihilation does change the narrative for death in the game. And that's not a spoiler. Like, people find that out. Your players are going to find that out immediately. That is fair. Yeah, it makes it to where, like, Man, clerics actually have a kind of a... Huh, man. That's a good point. Um, hmm. It is a different take, I'll say. Yeah, you gotta pass that. Yeah. Um. Okay. So, Lokotov Rising. I didn't run the Rick and Morty thing. Infernal Stream Rebuild, I don't know. Frozen Sick, I don't know. Icewind Dale. This seems to... Okay, aside from like this right here, I'll ignore this. Um, in terms of just running the game, this was the most controversial book I had ever seen on Twitter about like WotC's making adventures that like don't make whatever sense. It's too hard to run or whatever. And I was like, dude, this was a actual pretty goddamn great first, second, third chapters. The problem is, oh boy, the problem is, okay, this book has like three problems. Number one, yes, this was a actually there were like articles written about people being incredibly confused by this book, and the complaints that they had were fair. The complaints that they had were fair. This adventure, okay, clock out for the next 5 minutes if you're gonna play an Icewind Dale. All right, I'll give you a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, I assume that if you are in here right now, you are cool with having something spoiled for you for the first chapter of Icewind Dale. A couple, So, the way that this adventure is designed is that whenever your characters get into this adventure, Chapter 1, The 10 Towns, is meant to be run as a sandbox. There's a bad issue with this sandbox, though. This game encourages you to randomly roll what town your party starts in. So, like, if you randomly roll this one, there's a few of these adventures, these side quests that are in here, that are scary. Lonely Wood is one that I know. East Haven, yeah, Toil and Trouble. Lonely Wood and East Haven will damn near guaranteed get a party of first level characters killed. Also, oh yeah, Bob Worldbuilder did a great guide on this one. There's also Wyatt Troll did a DM's guide to running this one at all levels in the first tier of play. Yeah, as you all wonder, yeah, it gives you an adventure. It tells you a thing to go do, and then you go do it. If you all are like, yeah, what are we doing? We feel like we're running around kind of like with our, yeah. That's not on your DM. I guess the DM could recognize it and change it or whatever. But if you took the Cold-Hearted Killer quest line, it's trying to get you to go and explore the 10 towns and just kind of go run around and do whatever, right? Each of the 10 towns has a certain quest attached to it. There's 2 or 3 side quests in addition to those quests. I think this was a really cool idea for what they did. But, good lord, there is a certain leveling path that they most likely should have taken you down, but like, golly, man, I feel sorry for any party that had to start in East Haven or in Lonely Wood, because there's some stat blocks in here that you should not be forced to fight as a first level character. Where's the white moose? Oh god, why did they do this? it is entirely possible for you as a group of first level characters to go up and have to fight a frost giant skeleton as an expected thing within the first session. Now, this frost giant is handicapped in a way, but not to the point of being a reasonable, balanced encounter for first level characters. Yeah, this cave is real bad. Real bad. Like, the frost giant skeleton almost TPK'd you guys because your friend decided to poke it instead of moving by. Yeah. If the players do the normal player thing of we're going to explore and interact with the world, they can just get killed as of no fault of their own, right? Like, yeah, this is real not great design here for the adventure. Yeah, some harpies, a water elemental, and then giant plus hag plus what? Yeah. So there's that one. The notorious one, like, this is a pretty unreasonable thing. But cold-hearted killer. So this stat block is something that you are not intended to fight. And I tried defending this. You are not intended to fight this at the first level of play. You are intended to fight this after you have adventured and seen like 2 or 3 or 4 of the different towns, right? This stat block, I think it was Geek Pantheon, tested this out with like 8 different party compositions, or even more maybe. And they were all like veteran D&D players, old school, whatever, and then brand new D&D players. And overwhelmingly, Sephic was wiping all the new players, and the old players were basically just scraping by. Like, people that had experience with this game know what's up. Building optimized characters had a pretty hard time with this boss. It's an excellent quest. If you retool it, you can even port it to other settings. Yeah, cool. You are tracking down a serial killer. Great stuff. I thought this was innate Misty Step back whenever I ran it. Is it only 3 times per day? Has it always been 3 times per day? I thought he just got that. Interesting. It's been a minute though, so. Sephic was easy because your dad was a Twilight Cleric. 4 Twilight Clerics could do that. Yeah, this was actually out before Tasha's. So, a couple other things here. Whenever we are designing an encounter, designing a monster for any purposes, but like also thinking about an encounter, I don't know. I don't know if this got factored into its stat block. The cold regeneration. Like, have I seen the rare stuff in that book? Yeah. I actually prepped this one to run it all the way through. I don't know that they totally calculated its defensive CR completely correctly. Because cold regeneration seems like on top of 75 hit points. If I remember right, Geek Pantheon said something like, and I don't want to misquote him here, but basically said something like, the party had to be completely on top of their game and getting extremely lucky rolls to even feel like we were maybe squeaking by. One of the newer parties that actually did kind of well, he was like, they only really did well because Sephic was rolling terribly. So, yeah. Being able to just teleport with Misty Step 3 times per day, requiring no material components, like, dude, jeez, that's nuts. Getting multi-attack and getting 1d8 plus 3 slashing or 1d10 if using 2. So 8 plus 5, 2d4 cold damage. Like, jeez, man. Like, wow. It's like, I love that grind of, like, you know, the Elden Ring, Dark Soulsian, like, yeah, if I die a lot, whatever. But I signed up for that. I just don't think that this is a fair fight. I just don't think it's a CR3 creature. I don't think it's a really fair fight. I do not expect a group of level 1 characters to beat Sephic. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, even at level 3, that one's going to be hard. Now, my other qualm with this is... Okay, I've got 2. But I guess they're kind of bundled up into each other. Elden Ring, you don't worry about... Yeah, you don't worry about losing your character, right? Yeah. Now... I think this book's biggest weakness isn't its first chapter. I actually really like its first chapter, but it needed to come with some kind of a preface about don't let your characters run into this guy until they're at least, like, maybe 4th level, right? I think that Sephic is probably a CR4, realistically. Good Meat and Hole is crazy too. Yeah, there's a lot of pretty rough stuff. If you're gonna run Icewind Dale, I really recommend that you pick up that guide by either is it Even Tier Games or Wyatt Troll, and check out some of the recommendations they make in there. Yes. Oh, Sephic. Yeah, Sephic is infamous. Session 1 star. Yeah. Oh, well, starting at 3, you know, maybe. Yep, and all the dwarves. I mean, Sephic, it was a snap block that caused people to question the entire adventure's design enough to get it to trend on Twitter. It seemed like a completely unreasonable stat block, and people were actually complaining. AL was really, really confused on how they were supposed to run this book. That art made us stare at it for several minutes. Wow, it's so scary and gruesome. Yeah. Can't remember. Toil and Trouble. Yeah, God, yeah, they're watching someone get burned alive here. But it's an evil wizard, so it's a good fire. Yeah, oh man. It kind of made me like, whoa, for a second. Yeah, like the eyes. And yeah, like literally entrails, and oh man. Oh, so good. Embrace this. Like, let's not, I don't want, hey, and we got a jar boy here. I am thinking that Wizards of the Coast really wants 5e adventure design to get boiled down to, like, well, you guys could fight the monster, but you don't have to. Not all monsters are bad guys. You know, like, you can, and I'm like, God, we just want to fight stuff. Like, you know, yeah, the role-play and stuff is great, but, like, man, I kind of just want to roll dice and fuck something up. Like, you know? Ugh. Yeah, so my other big problem with Icewind Dale, the coolest plot hook in this entire thing is that there is an eternal winter going on, and there's this whole thing going on where all the different 10 towns are making different sacrifices to the god Arl. This is such a cool plot scene right here. Some of them are sacrificing food, as in, like, they're just gonna leave their they're just gonna leave food out for some crag cats to come and get and then run off or whatever. Some of them are sacrificing heat, as in like they're not lighting their fireplaces because they're like, we will be cold and suffer because that's what we think Auril wants. And then some of them are just sacrificing people. So they're all making these different sacrifices, and what I did was, whenever my party went into a town, this was what I did to make this fucking scary. I made the party members sign their names into a book to let them know that, like, oh, and there was just basically a lottery that was happening once every night, or it might have been once a week. I can't remember now. And then I had them all, in order for that to happen, I was like, all right, I need you all to tell me a card. And they were like, you know, ace, diamonds or whatever. And I was like, all right. And then they had their like lottery draw. And if their card was going to get drawn, and I didn't know if it was or wasn't going to get drawn. I only ever forced a card once on this, and it was because it was going to be so goddamn funny. I would just draw one of their cards, and if it turned out that it was one of their cards, I'd draw the card from a deck of cards. And if it turned out that it was one of their cards, that was going to be the new conflict. It was going to be, they had to figure out like, oh shit, I'm the sacrifice. Like, you know, like, oh shit. And the moment that I pulled out the deck of cards, they were like, oh my god, we put our names in the roll book. Holy shit, it immediately set a new kind of flavor for the horror of that story. It was so fucking cool. I loved that idea. How is it? There's so many people in the Dales of Winter is going for second year now. That's what they're trying to deal with, you know. Yeah, no, totally. Steal that, please. Steal it. Use it. I think that it's a great thing. As soon as you start threatening the players with like, no, like, not only is death real, these people who you've been interacting with, you might be legally bound to sacrifice yourself for them. Like, Jesus, what? You want to be a real hero? The only time I ever forced one was because they found the 3 kobolds in a trench coat and they wanted to sneak them back into town, and I thought it would have been so funny to force a card for them to actually draw the kobolds in the trench coat, and just to see what they would have done to deal with that, because that sounded so goddamn funny to me. Just, oh man, like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna take them 3 kobolds in a trench coat, or are they gonna like try and sneak these kobolds out? And then what happens if it gets discovered that they, you know, whatever? And like, to me, as soon as I thought of that, I was like, I have to force a card, because this has to be the way that this goes down. That was too funny. So the problem though, so all these different tin towns are making this sacrifice. I go on that all to say this right here. All the different tin towns are making these sacrifices to Auril because they want to end this seemingly eternal winter that's going on. Very fucking cool story to go with. Great. They end it way too early. Wow. For a deity to be presented into this book that is only like a CR 8, and she does this like cool, I just realized Frieza. She does this cool kind of Frieza, like, you haven't even seen my final form fight kind of deal. Where, and great idea. Actually, I think it was Celeste Konovich that worked on this book, and I think that really showed. Yeah, Celeste Konovich. Celeste did a lot of work on the DM's Guild, and then I think got hired to go work on this book. And Ashley Warren also did the... oh man, if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Ashley Warren did the Uncaged series. Worked on that in some capacity. So the problem with this one is what could have been a super cool and incredibly cinematic fight with this winds up being something that the players just get to way too goddamn early. They probably should not have been encountering Arl until after dealing with the Doom of Yithrin chapter right here. There's also a ridiculous plot line they can go down if they want to, which I'm here for. Something weird, bizarre, yeah. They don't lean enough into the horror kind of aspects of it. I think there could have been a lot of fucking cool moments with this. There are a lot of amazing ideas that happen in this adventure, but like, woof, man. Arl is ultimately left to be a pretty disappointing fight. The Tin Town section can be very confusing and potentially kill your characters really early. That's why I say that, like, you probably shouldn't run Rime of the Frost Maiden as a first, second, or maybe even third campaign, despite this having some of my favorite ideas I've seen in a module. So I'm gonna try. Yeah, there's a potential ending where you get a scroll of Tarask summoning and just wipe the 10 towns, because, yeah, it's nutso. I also would have really wished that, like, if you killed Sephic, they would have just allowed you to, like, get the icy sword, but for whatever reason, because, like, it does cold damage. In this environment, this would not have been overpowered. Allow them to get just, like, a cheap magic item that's actually really cool really early, but it, like, for some reason specifically makes mention that this thing melts away whenever he dies. So I'm like, I'm just gonna override that and let my players pick that up if they get it, because it keeps making mention that magic items aren't something that would be available, you know? Yeah. In hindsight, you don't know the point of Sephic. They had a really cool idea. It just feels like this is arbitrarily made, like, less intuitive to play. I don't know. Yeah. Your DM gave you guys Frostbrand, didn't seem like a problem at all. Yeah, but it does specifically make mention that, yeah, here you go. It says, like, consider surrendering only because commit more murders. In combat, he wields a magic sword and magical daggers made of ice that he can conjure at will. These weapons melt and break like icicles in the hands of other creatures. Why? Why? Oh, you guys got the fucking laser rifles that appear in this thing? Yeah, yeah, that would be a problem. Definitely would be a problem. Frostbrand is kind of powerful, I think, for that low level, but something like that is kind of cool. If the effect is just like, it's an ice sword, sure, it's strong, but like, as they're getting up into this next tier of play, and that's part of the problem, right? If a first level character had a sword that dealt 1d8 plus 3 slashing damage plus 2d4 cold damage, I'd be like, woof. Ooh, I don't know about that. I'm not super sure. But, like, as a third level character, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're gonna use this for most of the campaign. I can tell. Yeah, go for it. But, like, the additional damage is also cold damage? So, this is gonna be irrelevant in, like, 80% of the fights that happen in this book. Yeah. Yeah, just it was odd. Blue Eyes and stuff was super interesting to read early on, and nothing came of it. Players as an alien or something, and didn't bring it up until after the campaign ended. Oh yeah, there's secrets that you're supposed to roll up. I forgot about that. Yeah, there's secrets that they suggest for you to take on to, like, enhance the horror. Yeah, it's cold damage on a module that has a lot of characters that have that cold damage. But you know what's cool about that? Even just give me the cinematic early on of I conjure the blade. Like, cool. Yes. Sick. Candlekeep Mysteries. I'll have to read it more. Or at all, honestly. I remember seeing 2 or 3 of the adventures in here that looked really cool. just by the monsters that were involved with it. Is it a library? Book of Inner Alchemy. Or there were the creatures. Scrivener's Tale. Oh no, this is that one. Oh, this is that one that has the... Isn't this the book that they'd stopped producing the stat blocks in the appendixes, and instead they put them inside of the module itself, like inside of the adventure itself? Press of Beauty is great. Yeah, they did. So they're running this stuff inside of the... Okay. I would knock it for that. I would. That's a layout issue. Oh yeah, the magic item sorting. Oh, that's such a bad idea. Yeah, it's a central waypoint in the Forgotten Realms. Yeah, Justified though. I completely, like, Ted does, okay. As a reviewer, I 100%, like, I understand everything that Ted's expressing in there. That rage is like, you know, hyperbole maybe even. We want this to be a really good game because we have a lot of... It is a good game, but we want the content that's released that supports it to be just as good. And, like, that is such a basic UX thing. If you're going to have, like... Why in the middle of the edition would you dare to change the way that things are laid out in your books? And by that I mean, they had a thing that worked. And they just decided to fuck with it for some reason. And it caused more confusion in this book than was necessary. And, like, if I want to look something up, I don't know. Is there a magic item that appears in this book? Yeah, there's lots actually, but I don't know where the fuck to look for it, right? Yeah, it's between that and all the, like, controversial crap that was going on with this one, I'm like, man, just, you know, there's some cool ideas that are happening in here. If you wanted to, if you feel bad because you're like, yeah, well, I'd prefer to support these creators, cool, you can go find their stuff on all their socials and go support them that way. Yeah, I do know that Daniel Kwan contributed to this book, and I've liked a lot of Daniel's material. Just stuff he's been putting out on YouTube. Yeah. Is Witchlight good? You know who'd be better at who'd be better with that? Because I haven't run it. I got the book, and because I have to, because I do this. You know who has played in this one for sure? Is Sarah from Hype Goblin. The adventure is any good. You're running it and you personally love it? Non-combat on a game with so many combat rules is so unfitting. Yes. The problem is, and I talked about this with Ross on a live stream. I think this might have been the first eye patch in Monocle. The adventure design, the adventures that we're getting are not designed for the character options that we're getting, and vice versa. It's like WotC seems to think that people want adventures that don't have combat in it. Your game is a combat simulator. Can we stop with the idea that, like, D&D is what you want to make of it. All right, D&D is what you want to make of it, and I will 100% agree with that. Yes, that is a philosophy I hold, absolutely. But, like, can we stop making D&D adventures for people that don't want to play D&D? Like, people trying to make D&D into things that it just simply isn't. There are other TTRPGs that are out there that will help to suit those needs. D&D is a combat simulator. And if people aren't given the experience of, yeah, you know, we had this adventure, oh, what'd you guys do in it? Well, we went to a fairy carnival and talked to a couple jesters and satyrs, and went to the Feywild. Like, oh god, you know, there are other TTRPGs that are out there for that. D&D doesn't need to be that TTRPG. So, like, for real, there are other systems that can better support that. If you don't like D&D because you think it's too combat heavy, you can find 5e systems that don't involve that much combat. But, like, I just don't think that's the kind of thing that WotC should be forging their adventures around. They need to make the combat cooler, more elevations and interactable stuff on the battlefield. Is that a problem with Wild Beyond the Witchlight? Because, I mean, you know what did that really damn good? Ooh. Oh, man. This is such a well fucking put together dungeon. This is so good. This is a 5-room dungeon. It says 6 on here. It says 8 on here. It's a 5-room dungeon. All right. You got the outside, sure. This area. Let's say this. The outside is just scouts. They're just lookouts, right? You go in 1. It says 1, 2, 3. It's realistically 1, 2. Yeah, I'll consider that 2, knowing what I know about this dungeon. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it is. It's a 5-room dungeon. My favorite idea for a one-shot, honestly, would probably be something like, just do the first chapter here, part 1, Goblin Arrows. If you want to get someone into D&D, this is such a great selling point right there. This whole entire dungeon is extremely interactive. You can break down these rocks in here to make the whole place flood. You can break down this river. I can't remember what's happening right here. There are ways for you to get into the boss's room, or actually, this right here. You could... This might actually be the scariest thing for the DM right here. This makes the boss in this chamber, this dungeon, actually extremely vulnerable. So, like, if your players were aware of this room and where it went, and, like, they did some good scouting, it's very possible they could kill your boss pretty early just by doing some careful intel right here. And some real creative thinking. You can slide there from there or something, but this is actually elevated from this area right here. If you look at the stairways, right? This is all elevated up here. It does reward an animal handling check, yeah. It is entirely possible for you to stealth in here, and do something real easy right here in this third area. And that is, you start a fire, run out. This is only a 5-foot wide gap right here. Yeah. This is a 5-foot wide gap right here. you basically smoke out everything in this cave. Everything in this cave, real easy. Set something on fire right here. There is no exit area for any air holes or anything. All the smoke is going to go up into this chamber right here. Yeah, that's what you guys did. Yeah, it's once you know where this chamber goes and that it's like a flume that goes up into another chamber, if you see that they're throwing shit down this hole, my first instinct was always going to be light this on fire, send smoke up into this room. You know, that's one of those cool MacGyver-y moments that feels super rewarding. There's also goblin patrols that go across this bridge. You can break down this bridge and knock them off. You can knock out these rocks right here. Knocks down a retaining wall, which floods out the dungeon. There's such a cool... Oh, yeah, adventure. Yeah, that's fine. We do random shit here, right? This is one of my favorite dungeons. Although, I still think... yeah, there's so many cool dungeon rooms in this one. Like, Sunless Citadel, very goddamn cool dungeon. I just want to see the map. Close your eyes if you don't want to see anything. Okay, this is a huge dungeon. Huge dungeon. It also has a very cool entrance that, like, I mean, you rappel down to get to this area, and yeah, the story behind all this is a big ass dungeon, and this is only the first floor, but the wait, someone in chat, okay, someone in chat for sure said that they're in White Plume Mountain right now. To that person, please don't watch the next 5 minutes, okay? Oh, the hideout's really good too. Hey, welcome back, Kenneth. Playing Elden Ring, listening to the stream. Good to see you. Well, hey, thanks for popping in. Okay, so I'm going to assume that anybody that's currently... Oh, you're the DM? Okay, cool. No problem then. Alright. This has, I've talked about this room in the past. Okay. Well, actually, let me talk about two of these rooms. There's two extremely interesting rooms in this dungeon. That's this one, number 7, and then number 26. Number 7 is a real classically designed dungeon puzzle. There are a group of discs that are being suspended by chains in this room, and there's geysers that are sending up hot air up into, yeah. So the players have to make it across all of these in order to get to the other side and get out, right? Get the, I think there's a pretty rare item on this side. And then Chamber 26, the terraced aquarium. Does it show that? Oh, okay, yeah, here you go. Players get into this room, and all they see is a terrace of, like, or they see a bunch of different aquariums. The top layer has giant crayfish in it. The second layer has a bunch of giant scorpions. Third layer has some lionfishmen in it. And then the bottom layer is a manticore. And that manticore is guarding a door. This feels like you've just been presented with an unbelievable amount of bullshit in front of you. And it feels like the only option that you've got is to just try and break everything and kill everything. Like, I'm sure that there are ways to get around this. But God, you're just presented with this and it's like, what a bizarre idea for a... Like, what is... This is that weird fantasy to me that I'm like, oh God, yes, give me more of this bizarre shit. It seems like you've given me an impossible task that I now have to just, like, sit and chew on for a second. Like, oh, I love that. Yeah, you're looking at it just like, what the fuck is happening, right? Oh, are you? Oh. Yes, so, yeah. Don't overlook Tales from the Yawning Portal. God, it's a very good adventure. But yeah. Okay. So. God, what are we at? Oh. Sorry, I just saw the time. It's 4:43. I have a thing I need to be doing at like 5:15. You guys can see the InDesign document in the description below. I will return to 2-hour tangent done. Yeah. I'll return to this. I'll be live streaming. We'll see what happens this week. But yeah, still planning on working on this. Come over to the Discord, check that out if you haven't already. Appreciate you all for hanging out with me on this Sunday, doing random stuff. You instigated the same person, just saw the graphic. Gotcha. You love Blade Singer, but I want to play something Blade Singer E, but not him. What? Easily one of your favorite WotC dungeons you've ever seen. Yeah, it's such a good... It's not incredibly complex. Yeah, Ben's got a Magus I use at my tables. I recommend it. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, totally, Karen. Anyways, yes. All right, I got somewhere I need to be, and then I need to get my sleeping schedule set up for this upcoming week. Absolutely. Thank you all for hanging out with me. So, anyways, we'll see what's going on. Let me know what you all think. Come check out the Discord if you want to get involved with the community, all that good stuff. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors for helping me keep the lights on around here, and coffee and my blood. Y'all are absolute heroes. And hey, anyways, you can go check out my stuff on the DMs Guild. If you're interested in class design, why not subscribe? Come hang out. We are very, very active community. So yes. Anyways, thank you all so much for hanging out. I will see you all later on. I hope you all have a great day. If I don't see you, I hope you have a great week. Just be productive. Figure out something new to hop on. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, y'all have a great week. I will talk to you later on.